Hello, my fellow randoms, my fellow creatives. My name is Kev Duffy, and welcome to this, our 26th episode of What's Your Random Podcast, where I discover and celebrate independent and individual creativity from the inception of an idea to the process and the practicalities of bringing that idea to life. Welcome. So many times, welcome. And also many times, thank you for sharing this or your favorite episodes so that we can continue to expand our reach into the ears of other fellow creatives who may benefit from hearing from my guests and all that they have to share about their own creative processes and their own stories. I'm finding 26 episodes deep that with each guest, I find specific points that resonate with me and also specific key takeaways that I could incorporate into my own creative process or my own creative thinking process to try to find efficiencies, try to find ways to improve what it is that I do here at the podcast and in a couple of other creative endeavors. And it's always refreshing, motivating, stimulating to hear from other creatives, finding some common ground and knowing that other people are having similar experiences. So that is one way that I have benefited myself from being the host of this show. And I hope that you're also benefiting from just listening in. Of course, you could always holler at us at What's Your Random on Instagram and or Twitter and Facebook. And we would love to hear from you if you have any questions, comments, whatever it may be, or a referral of somebody who you think has something to share on the show here with me. And yeah, we really appreciate you sharing the show because that helps us get into the ears of more creatives, and hopefully listening to my guests will benefit them as well. I feel like I'm talking with marbles in my mouth today. Sorry, maybe it's my mustache sneaking in here and there. Joining me on What's Your Random Podcast for this episode today, the 26th episode, is Forever We Roam, an alt-core band based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And it was my biggest group interview so far, 5 members deep with JT, Aidan, Alex, Michayla, and Lynn. We had a blast. We learned about the very young start that this band had and all of the iterations and cycling in and out of band members until they found this really solid group that they've landed on now with their 3rd album, and talking about the evolution of their music over time with their 3rd album, and then kind of looking to the future and seeing where they're going to land with the 4th album, and maybe that will really be the tone that they set for themselves as a band as they experiment with some different sounds and try to arrive at one that is truly theirs and truly representative of all of the 5 members who have coalesced to form a wonderful band. They are Forever We Roam, and I hope you enjoy our discussion. Hang on tight after the episode for a brief debriefing. The key takeaways from this episode. And until then, enjoy the random. Say like a general introduction, and then each of you could introduce yourselves, and then we could kind of jump in. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Sweet.
All right. Joining me today, the worst host ever. I stutter on my own words. Joining me today on What's Your Random is Forever We Roam, a alt-core, post-hardcore band out of Charlotte, North Carolina, my adoptive state. And welcome to the show, guys. This is the biggest group of folks I've had on at one time, and definitely, so you hold the record.
That's good.
And yeah, it's awesome to see you guys all taking the necessary precautions for COVID safety, and but also see a band together in one room. Seeing that is also refreshing. So yeah, please go ahead and introduce yourselves, maybe one by one, and then we could get the show rolling.
You want to go left to right?
Let's do, left to right.
That's right to left.
Depending on which way you look.
Depends on perspective.
You got it, Alex. You can go first.
I'll go first. So my name is Alex Lloyd. I'm the guitarist for Every Room, and I've been in the band for about a year and a half, I guess, something like that. I play guitar, as I've already stated, and I don't know what else to say.
All right.
That's a pretty good start.
Thank you.
I am Aidan Moyer. I'm the drummer. I'm everyone's favorite band member.
Disagree.
Disagree.
Including all the fans, all 10,000 of them.
Talk about singers. Let's talk about bassists.
Well, I'm JT. I play guitar and I sing backup sometimes. And I am the only founding member left in the band.
I forgot about that.
Wow. Sounds like there's a story there.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I'm Michayla Bedell. I'm the lead singer. I've been in the band just shy of a year. In about probably 2 or 3 weeks, I think will be a year. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome.
And I'm Line Roussel. I'm the bassist, and I've been in the band for 3 months. Yeah, basically since Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow. Considering that, I think I've seen all of your faces on all of the material that's out there on the internet. So, like, you guys have come together and found some cohesion pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah.
Hope so.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I will sue you later.
Yeah.
Cohesion?
Sure.
Them's fighting words. I would love to hear the origin story of the band, JT, and then maybe each member could chime in how and when they joined and what the circumstances were, and you could choose to avoid dirty laundry as you see fit.
Yeah.
Not putting anybody
There's
on
a lot
the
of
spot.
that.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit of that, but so I started the band when I was in about 7th grade, I would say, and it was never serious. It was me and my best friend in middle school. I played guitar, she played piano, and she sang, and so we just kind of messed around with writing our own original music. Like, haha, wouldn't it be funny if we wrote original music? And then we wrote from our first EP, Beige Couch, we wrote Hurricane and Insanity, and we were like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. We could do something with this. So then we wrote the rest of the songs, and we put out the EP, Tales from the Beige Couch, which there was no expectation of it going anywhere. We were just expecting to put out that EP kind of as a fun little inside joke and then just be done with it, have it be a party story. Hey, remember that time we released music when we were in 7th grade? But then the opening track, Nerve, ended up getting streamed in like 35 countries within the first month. And so we were like, oh shoot, we got to do a follow-up now. So we started writing new material. We started trying to get in some more influences, trying to make more actual quality music rather than just what middle schoolers could write. And we got Self-Titled together. And at that point is when we started getting a band together. Because for Beige Couch, it was really just me and her. And so for Self-Titled, we kind of... we started getting a band together, so that's when Alex and Aidan joined. And then right before we went to record the album, there was some like conflict, and the singer that appeared on Beige Couch quit the band. And that's when Michayla joined on, and we recorded Self-Titled with Michayla. So her voice is on Self-Titled. And then after that, we just kind of kept writing and kept getting stuff together. And now we've got a 3rd album we're working on right now.
That's a very condensed version of it all, I would say.
Yeah, that's like 5 or 6 years of history in like a minute or two.
There's a lot to expand on.
Not to mention, like, not even mentioning the 700 bassists we've had in the
Oh my
last
gosh.
since I've joined the band. Basically, it feels like
How many lineup changes have we had total?
a lot.
Total.
Too many.
We'd have to sit down and think about that for a little bit. I don't know.
So
I don't know if we'll
I'm
do
just
that.
going to count out the amount of bassists that we've had. So we've had Sorrel, we've had me, we've had Chris, Jackson, Josh, Natalie, Lynn. Am I missing anybody?
I don't know.
That's already 7. That's already 7 bassists.
Are you sure? It's like, yeah, maybe.
I think your Kickstarter quoted like 537. I'm not really good with numbers, but
That sounds more accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
pretty
sounds about
close.
right.
Oh gosh.
and what is there a specific challenge when it comes to that position in the band in particular?
They're hard to find. They're just generally like
Yeah.
hard to find, and like I think, at least like before like I joined the band, like ironically most of the bassists that have been in and out of the band are people that I've known. Like a lot of
Yeah.
our like music community out here is like very tight, but like it just kind of everyone's always busy. Like musicians around here are always like already taken, so like it's hard to find a bassist that's not already in 7 different bands.
Yeah.
So someone always quits because of conflicts or because they don't like us. And
I'm pretty confident our lineup right now is like actually really good. Like
Yeah.
we all get along together. Well, I don't like Michayla, but other than
that's
that,
a whole nother thing.
that is a whole nother thing.
Just
Wait.
wait until I quit and make you guys find another bassist.
No.
Oh
You
my.
have
You
us.
need to add to the lore, the curse of the
Look.
quitting bassist.
This is
Lynn
like
has
our
us at the
first-
end of a string. Like she could just destroy this entire band if
Like
she really
Lynn is
wanted.
kind of like we like to call her kind of a cryptid in the band because like we've had people on TikTok be like, wait, it says on this video that there's 4 of you, but on your Instagram there's 5 of you, and we're like, she exists, I promise. Wink.
Maybe.
So, but this is actually like Lynn's like first like public.
She just made
thing.
TikTok. Fix that on
Second,
TikTok.
I made a TikTok at midnight.
You did make a TikTok, so it's like her
Proof of her
second like,
existence.
experience.
I still exist.
And how did you come into the fold, Lynn?
So basically, JT found my music page, and for some reason, he assumed I was a bassist, even though I literally only post videos of me and my violin. he messaged me and he was like, "Hey, do you play bass?" And I was like, "What?" Like wrong genre. But somehow we just became friends, and then after a couple of months, he started looking for another bassist. Shocker. And I was starting to learn how to play bass just because I wanted to. And
Were you prompted by JT reaching out to you?
maybe.
It might have been the only reason.
Look,
Anyway.
I will say this, like for someone who had like barely touched a bass before joining the band, JT likes to write things that are absolutely like borderline impossible to play. And he sent her like one of the hardest songs, like one of the hardest bass lines we have like on the 3rd album, and she sent us that video in like less than a week. Like
Oh, yeah.
knowing it like fully, like we were like, hold up a minute. Are you sure you didn't play bass before this? But like that like violin like muscle memory like came in like and just blew our minds.
Yeah, it was really, really crazy, and I'm like totally speaking for you here, but like she didn't have a bass, so I let her borrow my bass, and she kind of started working on it a little bit, and then her bass came in, and within a couple days she emailed me like a full playthrough of the song, and I was at work. And so I just like I got a break, and so I sent it to the other members, and we just kind of like sat down and watched it, and there was this, we were on the group chat and we all kind of simultaneously went, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
you want to talk about?
There's no feeling better than that, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Instantaneous consensus.
And we had kind of interacted with her like as a group before, because when Self-Titled came out, we got really good at doing little like game nights on Discord. We would like play Jackbox games and stuff with my other band. We all kind of became really close, and she joined in along with a few other like friends of JT's to all listen to the album together. So that was our first time like really meeting her, and so we had kind of already known a little bit that we were thinking about asking her to join, but like definitely meeting her was like, whoa, she fits in really well. And then it was like, whoa, she plays really well.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
That's awesome. So it's worth going through a couple of bassists to get the best bassist,
It's
Yeah.
nice knowing
even
I'm
if they
pairing
weren't a
the band.
bassist before.
We've definitely settled on a good lineup. I think we've been through a couple guitarists, and then we found Alex, and Alex was like a perfect immediate fit. Aidan was our first try at a drummer, and he fit perfectly. Aidan
Yeah.
was like a stroke of luck.
Yeah, I'm just
Um,
the best, honestly.
Michayla was our second try at a singer, and we all immediately just like, yeah, she's in. And Lynn is our like 19th try on a bassist, and we were all like, yeah, she's the one. So I think we've got a good lineup going right now, and I'm really hoping that this core lineup like stays for however long the
I
band
think this
exists.
is time that I have to tell you something.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
You heard it here first on What's Your Random.
Oh boy.
Hey, Alex, do you know any other singers by chance?
Why are you putting me on the spot like that? Oh god.
So how do you like find and develop a lineup like starting when you're in 7th grade? I think that's pretty astounding that you released an EP that was, had some success, and like that motivated you to continue on in this journey, and trials and tribulations aside, like kind of push forward and keep developing and try to keep finding good people that fit into, something, again, going back to that word cohesion, something that will allow you guys to perform up to your potential as a group. And like, I'm just really interested in that whole process from 7th grade, you and your friend, to now, and including, I guess, bringing in the relationship of everybody. Like, how do you specifically find, we know how you found Lynn now, but how do you specifically find other people?
So one thing that I've always been really, really big on it's worked really well for me so far is when I was in 7th grade at the time, I was taking guitar lessons from a good friend of mine who he's got his own band and he runs his own record label, and he had been teaching me for like 10 years at that point. So I was very close with him, and he was an amazing teacher, and he always tried to teach me how to succeed in music, not just at music. And so one thing that he would constantly come back to is, in the music scene, don't try to make business partners, try to make friends, and then see how you can benefit each other. And so that's something that's always kind of stuck with me. So whenever we play shows or anything, I always try to make friends with the opening bands or the venue owner, and so we can in turn provide them music or anything else. They can provide us gigs and just friendship. We have lots of friends in the area where it's a very close local music scene, and part of that is because everyone around here is in it for friendships as well as the business side of things. But like for each member, we know Lynn. I was friends with Lynn first. Alex and I were on the cross country team together, and I didn't even know he played guitar. I just thought that he was cool, and so I would say hi to him sometimes at cross country. And then when we were looking for guitarists, someone was like, Alex plays guitar, right? And I was like, what? Excuse me? I actually texted him about bass originally.
Yeah.
But then we ended up meeting a guitarist, so I called him up again. Aidan's probably the only member of the band that I wasn't friends with before he joined. But like, me and Michayla had been friends for years in the local music scene, because her band used to practice in the same space as my old band. And
He claims to this day that my band used to play before his for practice, but I don't have any memory of it whatsoever.
No, I know it was you because you were the only person I'd ever met with pink hair at the time.
That's fair.
And so you would always come in with pink hair, and I was like, oh, there's pink hair girl again. What's she doing here?
Yeah.
And then we started playing shows together, and I was like, oh, okay, she's not as much of a loser as I thought.
Hey!
You heard it here first. Everyone with pink hair is a loser.
No, I want pink hair. I want pink
Disclaimer, I
hair.
didn't mean that.
God, forever we roam is so judgmental.
I know, right?
We're not very inclusive here, honestly. I'm sorry, I gotta
Like
stop.
we're like the
I
most
gotta
accepting people in the world, except for with each other.
Yeah.
We will nitpick every little detail about each other, like no matter what.
Well, I like to think I like all of you except for one. Like I'm pretty nice to JT, Alex, Lynn. You know?
Careful, she's about to drop kick you.
We can't be knocking over all the mics now.
Yeah. Well,
That
That'll be
wouldn't
for
be good
after.
for the show.
We'll have some words after.
Oh yeah, you bet.
I get to watch from a distance, so I'm good.
I think kind of like making a more serious point out of our tangents. I think one of the reasons that we work so well as a band is that we are so close. Like these guys are my closest friends in the world. And so we have that relationship where, like, you're seeing it right now. We have this relationship where we make fun of each other, and we can just hang out and not have to do anything music related. And I think that helps our band relationship stay intact because we're close friends. And when we play shows, people can see that we interact with each other, we have fun with each other. I think it just makes it all together better.
It also is a little bit of a fault at times because we'll be in calls like to have like serious meetings. Like yesterday we had a call to have a serious like budgeting meeting for like future projects and stuff, and we probably talked about it for what, like 15 minutes, and then we ended up talking about, I think we started talking about Lynn being a cryptid, and then just didn't come back to it, and then we were like, oh, time to go. Like,
Sounds about
Yeah,
right.
but I would take that over infighting and the band breaking.
yeah.
oh, for sure.
yeah.
Something like that.
So,
How does that play out in the creative process? Like, I guess opening the floor to everybody. I'm just going to loosen my wire here.
I have some words.
Opening the floor up to everybody. Who writes the songs? Is that a collaborative effort? And then when it comes to actually writing and the music, what's your process? That's one of the things that I'm interested in getting into in this podcast.
I've one thing, JT and Alex do a lot of the writing in terms of like guitar and lyrics. JT does most of the lyrics. Alex has done like a few of the songs. But I think with our relationship like being so strong, we have a hard time like telling each other that we don't like something. So there have been so many times, I'm sure we've seen it, well, you'll see it a lot on the new album, but so many lyrics that we just can't get rid of, so we just use both of them.
if we're trying to decide between like two verses or something, it's like we don't know which one really fits better, so eventually we just ended up choosing both. And like this has happened multiple times, so like it's
Has that
really an
happened on
issue.
Self-Titled? Did we do that on Self-Titled?
No, because Self-Titled was written before half of you even joined the band.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but collaboration at the moment is kind of like, it's kind of interesting just because we only have to, the only means we really can collaborate with is through online, and just kind of, it's kind of difficult through that sense because you don't get that like physical interaction, and like it's just a lot easier to do it in person, I'd say. Like I remember like one time when back when our old singer was in the band, like we were actually at a writing day and we were pretty productive that day, I would say. And nowadays it's really just kind of we all go off and do our own sort of songs, and then like we eventually bring it to the table and it's like, okay, let's see what we can change, let's see what we like and don't like and such. So it's
and do you actually, Alex, could you move this stand? I can't see your face, and I understand you're a strapping individual.
I'm
So
very
it'd be nice to
very
see,
much.
actually.
I don't want to
See
see
you
the
on a-
camera because the camera's up here, but here, let me see.
If it's not gonna
Just
mess
I'll
the
just move
camera.
it to like a tiny bit and then see.
Yeah,
There we
What's
go.
yeah. I just wanna
I didn't even see that.
Alright,
I didn't even know there was
make
a
sure
thing.
I'm respectfully engaging directly with the person.
Yeah, there we go.
That's interesting. So is it mostly like somebody comes up with a riff, somebody comes up with over here, somebody comes up with a lyric over here, and then you come together on Zoom and like are playing via Zoom, or
Something like that. Usually, JT is kind of a, I guess, write-aholic, I suppose. Like he just writes song left and right, and he'll just send it to us over Snapchat. Like, guys, guess what I did? I made an entire 6-minute song in the past 30 minutes.
We have a Google Drive with everything in it, and there was one day where I was just on my computer, and I just happened to open it into our like drive for the album. There were 8 songs in there that I had never seen before, and I was like, and I think most of those were actually taken out at some point because I was just like, JT, what are these? Where did these come from?
Alex, did you happen to bump the camera? Because I think it stopped recording.
Oh boy.
Oh no, I probably.
Oh shit! I'll take the blame, just because I wanted to
That's
see.
totally okay.
Oh no!
Was it not recording?
My phone storage is full.
Oh. Hey Alex, good thing we're both off the hook.
It's JT's fault.
It's just JT's fault, actually.
Blame JT.
It's the phone's fault for not having more memory.
What do we do?
Does anybody else have a phone with a lot of storage?
No.
Yes.
Mine's
I
got
do.
storage too.
I do, but it's an Android, so I don't know how to like send videos from it to somewhere else.
JT, I
I
got
think
you.
Alex has got it.
Alex
Sorry
has
about that.
got
I
it.
probably should have checked on that before.
You're good. You're good. No,
Okay.
Technical difficulties in the middle of the podcast.
believe me, I almost started. This is my 26th episode, I think, and like I was like, why is my mic not working? And then I realized I didn't turn it on.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Don't feel bad.
Hey JT, maybe while you're at it, you should check to make sure the audio is recording too.
Oh, the audio is recording.
Okay,
I've been
good.
watching it. Yeah. Okay.
The
So
screen went out.
camera's back on, and we are rolling again. I'm not entirely sure how much we missed, but
We'll be all
That's
right.
okay. We have the backup here too, and then
Oh right, yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
We'll be okay.
thereafter whatever. So I usually go through this spiel at the end when I hang up, but if you guys like a specific part of the interview, I could cut those out for you too.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
And put them up on YouTube as a short, and then send you the file for however you want to use it.
I
Awesome.
appreciate that.
This is so fun, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, this is awesome.
This
I'm
is
really
really
enjoying
fun.
this.
Always wanted to
Oh,
do
cool. Yeah, me too.
I
Me
think-
too.
I think
Yeah,
Aidan
this is
has-
I
Oh, it's
do.
my pleasure.
I have gifts for JT. So so we did like a Secret Santa way back, Christmas, right? And my gift, it was really good, but then it wasn't gonna come until like March, so I just like didn't get it, and I had to get something else, and then it sucked. So I just made something else, and I also haven't even given him the second gift. So I'm giving you both now. So this is
Aw.
here to show the camera as well, because the camera's more important than you anyway.
that.
The
officially the first gift exchange happening here.
Oh,
on
that's
What's
so
Your-
Oh
cool.
my goodness.
Thank you so much, dude. That's so cool.
yeah, I remembered both of those things, and then forgot my headphones. So
Oh, thank you
Nice.
so much.
What is it for the listeners? On,
like a little- it's
podcast
a-
sketchers out there.
There's a guitar pick holder, and then there's a painting of our logo.
Nice. I thought it was from a distance.
That's
It's
so
a little
cool.
blurry, but very cool.
Yeah.
And what is that logo is pretty awesome.
Ah, thank you.
To put it very simply, like where did the design concept, and is there anything that I'm not seeing or understanding by looking at it? Is there some hidden
it's
meaning?
really simple.
So,
It is very
so
simple.
I'll explain it, and then I'll come hold it up to the camera. But we started out with talking about what kind of symbols we wanted to include in our logo, and that led us to, I believe it was the tarot card, the Three of Wands. I could be wrong. So if anybody listening to this is a avid tarot card reader and I'm butchering this, please forgive me because it's been a very long time since we talked over this. But I believe we landed on the Three of Wands, which was like perseverance and like moving forward togetherness, if that makes any sense. And so we liked that. We liked the 3 lines because it represented like pushing forward and being together as a team, which is 2 things that we kind of hold pretty close. And so then we were like, well, triangles have 3 lines. What could we do with a triangle? And then I was like, what if we hid the 3 letters of FWR inside the triangle? And so the triangle has meaning, but then the lines inside the triangle, it's literally just F, W, and R hidden inside the triangle.
Okay, I guess I'm either dumb, dense, or didn't spend enough time looking at it.
I'm gonna be very
I don't
honest.
think
I
anybody
didn't know
would get it
either.
first.
I was
You
looking at
didn't know.
I didn't know either. I was looking at the logo and I was like, it's gotta be it. That's gotta be it. And I didn't want to ask because I was like,
There's
nah.
the F
The F?
there's the F there. and then up on
Okay.
the top there's a W,
Bring
and
it
then over here, this one's a little harder to see, but there's like an R there.
Okay, it is okay.
Yeah.
I rescind my
G-
previous self-criticism.
JT.
It's a little bit more cryptic than I
It is.
than I
It
would have
is.
expected, and that makes it that much cooler, though.
JT,
That's sweet.
stop mansplaining the logo to Kev.
Also, there are some.
No, I appreciate it because if he didn't explain it, I probably would have looked at it after the podcast and been like, I still don't see.
I'm pretty sure like
Yeah,
100%
it's
of
so-
our fans listening would also be like, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, no, it's so subtle and it's like intentionally so. Nobody else in the band saw it when I showed them the design. I was like, "Hey, check out this super cool logo design," and they were like, "Nice,
What
that's
is
kind of
it?"
cool."
What's
And
the
I was
name?
like, "Oh, don't you see like our letters in there?" And they were like, "No, no."
Yeah, I mean, at first glance, I noticed that it wasn't perfectly symmetrical, so I was like, there's something in these lines.
Yeah.
Like, there's the choice here was made with intention.
Line.
Very, very cool.
There's a there was a so Lynn's name is spelled Line, and
You
it's
see, it's funny because there's lines.
yeah
in the logo.
yeah so
And her name, get this, her name is Lynn.
yeah
but
they're
spelled Lynn.
they're actually like both, like the same, that's the joke. Look at them go.
And that's why they can't stop laughing right now.
Look at them go.
It's not that funny. It's not that funny.
That was the stupidest joke I've ever made.
It's pretty funny.
Lynn, line.
Guys, we're supposed to be on topic here. We don't want him getting violin.
Yeah, we knew it was coming. We
Leave
knew
her
it.
alone.
Alright, JT, alright.
Boo.
Stinky.
Boo this man.
No, you're stinky.
No.
Oh,
The whole fandom thinks you're stinky. You're welcome.
how did I end up as the stinky one?
How did that happen?
So,
Maybe it's
Alright.
because you are such a avid drinker of tea, from what I understand.
Oh, that is
Oh,
very
he's done
accurate.
Yeah, I
research.
probably do smell like tea most of the time. Actually,
I gleaned as much information from your TikToks on the Kickstarter as I
oh
could.
no.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah. And I know that one member among you has murdered a man or killed a man.
I wonder who that could be.
Yeah, I wonder who.
I like how we all look at the same person.
There have been so many times, like there was one time so I'm in another band on top of this one, and we're, like I said earlier, like we're really close with them. And Brandon LaRue, who's the guitarist of that band, we went to his house one night just to hang out. I don't really remember exactly why. But I think Alex said something. No, Brandon or Alex said something, and then everyone in the room turned their heads and looked at me, and I was just kind of like...
Yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember what it was.
it's probably like who's the shortest or who's the dumbest or something.
I think it was something not very appropriate. So I think that's probably what it was. Which is, but that's been like a very ongoing thing, is we make very subtle jabs at each other without actually saying anything.
Yeah.
And it's very fun.
One day it's gonna explode and we're just gonna break out.
Oh no!
In
Don't say
true-
that.
Oh no. Cancelled.
In true form for good friends.
Yeah.
You're never direct. It's only passive aggression.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
There's a little bit of direct aggression.
I would say there's a
lot
little,
of-
a little
I
bit of a
mean-
lot of.
I mean, between these two, there is direct aggression. If you've seen
I
our
was gonna
promo
say, I
pictures,
feel like JT is strategically placed.
yeah, no, I'm
Yeah, I'm starting
I'm
to
the
wonder if maybe
mediator
we should.
here.
Have you seen our pictures? Like, there's on our Instagram, there's some photo shoot pictures we have, and in the background, me and Aidan are beating the crap out of each other.
Oh my god, it's so funny. I love it.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember that. Like, the timer was still going off, and I was like, I was supposed to have a straight face or something, but like I could hear them brawling out in the background. Like, I can't.
That's actually my favorite picture from that shoot. Is like me and Alex are like arms folded, staring at the camera, like all angsty, and then Lynn is like, her arms are like coming unfolded, and she's cracking up laughing. And then in the background, Michayla is like on Aidan's back, strangling him. That is my favorite picture from that shoot. I think it's on our Instagram.
Yeah.
I think it's up there.
It
Oh, yeah.
definitely is.
What is with the physicality and brutality between you two?
They have a long going
Hold on.
feud. It's a thing.
Aiden and I actually don't know why it started.
I actually don't know why.
Because it was
I feel like JT might know
the
why.
night that Lynn joined, Aiden and I just had it out for each other.
I remember, that day when
And it
Lynn
just never
joined,
stopped.
it was the same day. I don't know why. I just didn't. All of a sudden, Michayla just is so hateable.
Maybe it was me. I don't know. Maybe I did something.
Oh no.
Lynn brought in some like French energy that just like was just
French energy.
yeah.
Maybe she drew a line
Oh, here we go.
and somebody.
No.
I'm sorry.
Boo.
I'm not an intimate member of your group.
It's okay.
A for effort.
It
however.
doesn't matter if you
can't
know
make
me or
that
not. Everybody does it.
Actually, it's not like ours are any better. Like, think about it.
Yeah,
Have
ours are worse.
Probably.
They're
That was smooth. I liked that one. That was good.
The day that Aiden
Yeah.
said violin.
I said violin.
You
I
said-
said violin.
Who said violin?
You said violent. He said violin.
It was the first
Okay.
day you joined, and I thought I was so smart. I was so proud of it, and it turns out everyone does that. Because
yeah,
it's
my
so
6th grade
brain
social studies
simple.
teacher did it first.
Really?
Oh no.
I'm a little bit.
It was
late, I
funny. She
guess.
was like,
Guys, I don't.
she was trying to figure out how to say my name. Cause shocker, no one can say my name. And she was like, okay, how do I remember your name? And I was an orchestra kid, so I had this violin case I was carrying around. It's like, oh my god, you play violin? No way, Lynn plays violin. I got it. That's how I can remember your
I'm
name.
gonna expose JT real quick.
Ah.
JT didn't know her name was Lynn up until she joined the band, and he called her Lion.
And he's the
just-
connection, by the way.
He's the connection.
He's the one who knew Lynn.
Yeah, but digitally, you guys knew each other? Did you?
Yeah, we had
like-
only met over Instagram. Like, to be fair, I never actually heard her name pronounced. I just saw it as,
I still met you in person once.
yeah, but you didn't introduce yourself.
Oh.
I could leave right now.
Beef in the band.
We could leave right now.
Guys, we're gonna need a new
No.
bassist
We're
pretty
doing this.
soon.
We're doing this. All
have
right,
to
bye
do the
guys.
movie.
We need some mediation.
All 4 feet of me. Mediate.
Oh, yikes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is my public apology. I'm sorry.
That's not enough.
It's not
I
in
want
the
your
notes
notes
app,
app
I'm sorry.
apology
It's
right
not
now.
in the notes app.
I want your notes app apology.
I gotta get my notes app out and write a public statement. I am very sorry I mispronounced Lion's name.
Lion's name.
Wait.
I'll do you one
So,
better.
like-
I'll quit the band right now.
No!
No.
Good luck with it.
No.
It feels so good knowing I'm carrying the band right now.
The ultimate trump card.
Oh,
But like, how do you meet on Instagram in that way that is intimate enough that like you pretty quickly end up collaborating and inviting who was to some degree a stranger who you didn't know how to pronounce their name into the band? I think that's really interesting for people who are looking to collaborate and like meet like-minded people who can participate in projects with them. So was it just like you saw that you had mutual friends through social media, or like how do you navigate that?
This is actually a kind of fun little piece of lore in Forever We Roam history. So that was at the time that we were putting together our last album, the self-titled album. And I'm not sure if you like noticed, because it's pretty subtle most of the time, but in a lot of those songs there's like a big vocal ensemble, and I'm like a big stickler for wanting real ensembles, orchestra parts, any like extra parts. I want it recorded real so that it will sound that much higher quality on the final recording. So I wasn't gonna settle for just like the 4 of us recording a bunch of takes of vocals and stacking them. Like, I wanted a real ensemble. But the problem was finding that many singers that were willing to do it in the area, and beyond that, of that, who was actually going to submit their parts, because I think in total I had 90 people say they were going to do it, and I had about, I think on the final take there's like 25 people in the ensemble. But I remember there was like one night where we were starting to get close, and I was like really stressed because we had 2 submissions, and I was like, we can't make an ensemble with 2 people. So I went on Instagram and I went in the recommended section in like the whole list of people that was like I had mutual friends with, and I just went in anybody that had like musician in their bio or like singer or violin in Lynn's case, like anything like that. I was like, follow, and then I would message them and be like, hey, this is kind of random and out of the blue, but like I'm looking for singers. Do you want to help me out here? And I think that I can't remember exactly. Was that the first time, or was it for bass originally?
It was 100% for bass, and you didn't even bring up ensemble until way later.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even remember.
Also, I'm just curious. If you were looking for a vocal ensemble, why were you looking for someone that had violin in their bio, you know? Like,
well,
how does that work?
I don't know. I was looking for anybody. Like, I was feeling very desperate.
I mean, should I tell the story from how I met you the first time? Do you remember? So, I'm going to tell this story. This correlates to the vocal ensemble.
We knew each other way before the ensemble.
We had never met.
We've met.
No, we hadn't.
We've met at Summit and gigs before.
We had never actually met.
We definitely did.
No, we didn't.
On the record, we had met. Michayla just... I didn't make that much of an impression, I guess.
Nope, we had never met. My first... So this is actually kind of like a fun little piece of like Forever Room lore that ties into that vocal ensemble. JT actually had messaged me to be a part of that ensemble like pre-COVID. And also before I was even like a thought in joining the band. I actually just was a fan of Beige Couch. Like I was like a genuine fan of Beige Couch when it came out. And he had asked me if I wanted to join, like to come in and record that ensemble. And there were supposed to be like 20 people that were supposed to show up, and I think we had 4 people actually come.
Yeah, no, I had like 20 people say, yes, I will be there on this day at this time, and then this day and this time show up. And Michayla is there, and like 3 of my other friends are there, and we're just sitting there with no ensemble. We're supposed to be recording. Nothing is happening. So we had to scrap that whole series of recordings because we didn't have enough people for an ensemble. And then when we went to redo it, COVID happened, and we can't have that many people singing in a room with COVID.
Right.
And so I ended up just taking like recordings from everybody and putting it all together, which... The ensemble on that album is iPhone recordings, like 70 iPhone recordings just spliced together to make an ensemble, which took me forever. But to that point, Lynn is actually on there. So before she officially joined the band, she technically appeared on the Forever We Roam album. So she's in that ensemble. And then a couple months after that album was released, she officially joined the band. And then same with Michayla. Like she sang in that first ensemble. That first ensemble got scrapped anyway, but she sang in the first ensemble. A couple months later, she joined the band. And we do need an ensemble for LP2, so we might find like a keyboardist or something. Who knows? I don't know. We have a habit of picking people up from the ensemble.
Yeah. Do we need more members?
No.
No, we don't.
You're welcome.
I noticed, and I took note that you had... so many collaborators on the vocals, and it's pretty cool to hear that you were able to put together something of that caliber and level of quality with just iPhone recordings.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, most of those people were like people I went to high school with, and actually that teacher that I was talking about earlier, my guitar teacher of like 10 years, he was the very first submission that we got.
Cade?
Yeah, Cade. Cade is like one of the only 2 basses in the ensemble.
Huh.
It's actually Cade and Asher.
Which Asher?
Not Asher Ostrowski, but Asher Fazal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We learn new things about the album every day.
There was like so much that went into it, and I can send you some pictures later, but the recording sessions were really wild because we were supposed to start recording it March 2020, which I don't know if that rings any bells to you, but that was when COVID like went into full swing. So we ended up I built a giant pillow fort in my garage, and we spent that entire summer like recording in a pillow fort in my garage. So I'll send you some pictures later, but I've got pictures
I think
of
I
Alex
saw it, and that was like one of my lines of questioning was
Yeah.
about DIY, like just go get them and do it yourself in your garage? Because I think there was a video on your YouTube that showed that production process to some degree through maybe it was a picture montage or something.
Yeah, we've got that photo montage on the YouTube.
Yeah. So, I mean, people who are interested in checking it out, you could see it there as well. And was that like just you working with what you had, and based on the circumstances with COVID having to record tracks separately, or was that how you were kind of planning on recording each of the tracks anyway? I was interested in like the circumstances that put you in the position to record in that way. And
They were supposed to be in here in the studio. We were supposed to
Okay.
record in the studio, but
with everybody together.
Yeah. So the studio, the actual recording studio room is like right behind the computer, so you can't see the studio room right now. But we were supposed to be recording up here, and just because of safety concerns, because like Aidan, your grandparents were living with you, and I had just had a collapsed lung, so I had no idea like if I was like safe to breathe. So actually, a majority of the drum sessions, I couldn't walk for, because every time I would stand up, I would like get winded and almost pass out. So most of the sessions that I recorded with Aidan, I still had a partially collapsed lung, and so I was just like, record. Oh, that took too much effort.
Yeah.
And so it was a weird challenge to have to overcome, because we were not expecting a pandemic of all things. But I mean, I think we adapted pretty well, and we got that pillow fort up, and we just started setting things up however we possibly could.
he stuck me in a closet.
Yeah, I put Michayla in a closet.
Don't put her in the closet.
You fit.
Again.
It's okay.
Is that better than a corner? That's where Baby was put.
Ooh, I don't know.
I love that. I love that movie. That's a great movie.
So doing a pillow port, I guess specifically, because I don't know too much about recording music. Is that a technique that's widely used, and like how did you figure that out?
So for studio recording at like the very, very basic level of studio recording, you want to get the tracks as isolated from room noise and outside noise as possible. So I'm sure you know, as a podcast recorder, like just speaking in a room, there are echoes. And so when we record up here in that back room there, I've got like sound dampening paneling all over the walls, and then thick carpets on the floor. And then when we do record up here, I put up additional moving blankets in like a curtain around the drums, just so that there's extra sound dampening. But when we did the pillow fort, it was honestly somewhat better than recording up here, because I had to make an entire like encasement of sound dampening, because I was in my garage. So I did like several layers of carpets on the floor so that you weren't getting echoes from the concrete floor. And then I took like, this 10 by 10 tailgating tents that just unfold. I took one of those, and I got a bunch of old moving blankets from around the garage, and I just hung them over this tent thing. And so I made this giant moving blanket tent, and then I put all the drums in, I put the seat in, and I made sure that he would have enough room to actually play. And then with all the extra space on the floor, I took pillows from our backyard chair set and just circled around the drums, put some like extra blankets around the top of it. So I mean, it was just a giant pillow fort. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know. From the pictures, I gathered that. And like, is the pillow port concept, like, is that widely used in indie recording? Like when others don't have a studio, or was this kind of an invention of your own imagination?
For most DIY bands that are like getting started that don't have access to a studio, they will do the moving blankets. But I think the pillow fort was something that I haven't really seen done before.
So
most
is
people
pillow
just
port
record it.
your own term? Because it sounds super official.
Oh no, like pillow fort, like F O-R-T.
Oh, Fort. Okay.
Yeah, Pillow Fort. And so, I mean, most DIY recordings are done, like, they'll put the guitar amps in their closet because the clothes in there help to dampen the sound. And then drums, you just set up moving blankets around. So I guess it was kind of a combination of those, just in a larger scale.
Yeah, that's, I mean, kudos to you for like going after it. Was there ever a question in anybody's mind here that like, maybe we won't make this album, we'll wait for the pandemic to be over or anything like that?
We had talked about scrapping the album altogether at one point because we wanted
Really?
to do the next one so bad.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like we when I joined the band, we kind of all just decided like this isn't the music we want to be playing. Because like the previous singer, she really seemed to like that really like melodic indie rock type thing. But me, I was just like heavy. So at one point we were just kind of like, you know, this album is so hard to put out right now. What if we just didn't do it and just worked on the next thing? And
like we enjoyed it too. Like we like the album that we put out, and we enjoy the music personally. But like at the same time, it's not like where we wanted to go forward, like in the future as far as our writing material. So that's why we're just considering like, you know, it's not going to be us in the future. We might as well. But I'm glad we put it out personally.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely glad it's out, but we definitely
how do you
at one
think
point
that
just discouraged and ready for it to be done, and we're like ready to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I feel that. So how do you, I guess you were already ready to transition to the next phase of Forever We Roam, musically and artistically maybe. So what are the iterations of the band? Maybe you could start with Tales from the Beige Couch in terms of inspiration and kind of artistic direction and genre and things of that nature, and go through each album for me as a group, and then let me know where you guys are pivoting from the self-titled album that you've recorded last year.
So when I started Tales from the Beige Couch with my friend way back in middle school, my music tastes had not developed beyond much beyond what my dad had showed me, which was like Bon Jovi and Def Leppard and just like big stadium 80s hair metal bands, because that was what he had grown up on and what he enjoyed. And so I really enjoyed that as a kid. And then in middle school, I discovered Green Day and Blink-182, and that just blew my mind. I just thought that Green Day was peak music. And saying that now is hilarious to me. The fact that I ever thought Green Day was peak music is kind of funny to me. But so
which album like piqued your interest most?
I was in middle school. I didn't know they had another album other than American Idiot.
They have another album?
American Idiot by Green Day.
You sound like an American idiot saying that.
Yeah.
I just had to run with the joke here. Not.
I enjoyed that.
We like puns here.
You could say that I'm being such a dookie.
I got that one.
I will
That's
say
good.
Dookie is my favorite Green Day album.
Yeah.
As much as I don't
Yeah,
like
I think
Green
it's my
Day,
favorite too.
Like as much as I have like a vendetta against Green Day, like that's the best album that they have.
And it's funny that you say that because at the time I didn't even know Dookie was a thing. I knew American Idiot and I knew
Basket
some of the
Case is
songs
on
off of
Dookie.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I had never heard Basket Case.
Oh my god.
And so the guitarist of my... Because at the time I was in my very first band ever, Shades of Crazy. And our guitarist was really obsessed with American Idiot. And so that's how I kind of got into it. But
Yikes.
aside from that whole Green Day tangent, back into Beige Couch. Beige Couch was very garage rock. It was mostly inspired by like Green Day and the Strokes. Very just typical punk and garage rock. And so... Oh, and Muse. Muse was a big one too. So you can hear on Nerve, there's like a really interesting bass part because I thought that Muse was cool, what they did with bass. And because before that, most of the bands I'd listened to just had the bass follow what the guitar was doing, and it was really, frankly, boring. And then I heard Hysteria by Muse, which is entirely bass-led, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So Nerve from Beige Couch was pretty inspired by Muse, but mostly just garage rock. Not very impressive and not very challenging. As much as we tried to make it complicated, it was more making it complicated for the sake of, we may be middle schoolers, but look at us, we can make cool music. And looking back, it was not cool. We were making it difficult for the sake of it being difficult, and not
but
because
still,
it sounded good.
just making an album when you're in 7th grade is like pretty legit.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and take credit for that, because my guitar teacher, Cade, who we've been talking about a couple times, I mean, he like held my hand and walked me through that whole process, because he, like I said before, he has his own record label, and so production is what he does. And so he started me on GarageBand, and he showed me how to make GarageBand loops, and then it just kind of transitioned, and my name and his name are both credited on the mixing of that album, because I technically sat at the computer and did all the audio engineering, but he was sitting right next to me telling me what to do and what I could do for this sound and that sound. And so honestly, he was a huge influence on that album too. But
Awesome.
so we had that influence, and then going into self-titled, we didn't really start writing until a little bit later, and so by that time my music tastes had started maturing. By that time I was into more like Midwest emo and math rock and indie, and it was getting more melodic and more nuanced than just your basic 4-chord garage music. And so that album is very influenced by The Wonder Years is a big one, Movements, Tiny Moving Parts, some more niche music, and I had also at that time started branching into heavier bands like Breaking Benjamin and Slipknot. Stop. Like Slipknot, Bring Me the Horizon, some heavier stuff. But I think at the time our singer was really into like the super, super soft indie that hardly had any guitars at all. And so self-titled was kind of our in-between. And then for this next album, that singer...
Different.
What?
It's very different for the next album.
It's very different. So that singer quit, and we were talking about the next album, and I had like half of an indie album written that was even softer and even more nuanced. And me, Alex, and Aidan were sitting in a room. Our last bassist, Josh, showed up to practice and then quit on the spot, because we were supposed to meet to talk about what to do now that our singer is gone. And then we get together, Josh shows up, he's like, "Hey guys, can I get paid for the last show?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, here's your money." And he was like, "All right, deuces, I quit." And
Yep.
and I'm allowed to say that because he and I are still friends. So like, Josh, if you're listening, I'm joking. And
You gave a thumbs up.
yeah, I gave a thumbs up.
Double thumbs up now.
Double thumbs up.
Oh my god.
And so we were talking about where we wanted to go, and we were like, why are we writing indie if none of us listen to indie? And so then we got Michayla in, who we knew listened to mostly heavy music. And we kind of talked about the style, started writing some songs, and it's not anything like black metal. Like it's not a heavy album, but it's definitely more riff driven. I like to think of it as like Beige Couch is kind of the middle, whereas self-titled split off and went more indie and more nuanced. This album is going the other direction and getting more riff heavy and more like catchy and hooky. So it's much more of a rock album than the last album was.
In like a heavy metal kind of sense, or more
We struggle.
punk heavy, grunge?
We struggle a lot
heavy?
with the sort of genre that we describe ourselves as.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
say that, well, I think we all agree that like this new album sounds probably like, if we had to choose like some bands that what it sounds like, we would say Bring Me the Horizon and Breaking Benjamin. Like it's kind of breaking the barriers of metal, but like maybe not quite. We're not really sure.
Yeah.
we're definitely still looking and going like, we could go heavier, we could not, whatever. But like generally, that's kind of where we're sticking at right now.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's we've struggled to put a label on it so much because we come from an indie and more math rock based background, which Self-Titled was not math rock. That's just all that I listened to, so you can hear it kind of leaking in here and there. But because we all come from such wildly different backgrounds, this next album that we wrote together, we're having a really hard time putting labels on it because there's so many different influences and so many different sounds. Like the big finale track I think the finale track kind of encompasses what is Forever We Roam as on this album at least. So it's got like the song opens up and it's a soft, clean guitar and Michayla singing really nice, clean, like beautiful vocal parts. And that kind of harkens back to Self-Titled, where Michayla's singing very like soft and clean and there's soft guitars. And then it goes into the verse and there's like a heavier guitar riff and the drums are more like heavy.
I just don't remember which song you're talking about, so I'm like going through my head like which song
Barefoot.
is that? Oh, Barefoot. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know half the songs
I
on
think
our
we're
album.
talking about a completely different song.
I thought you just had concerns about what he was saying, and I was like, oh.
No, I was just like brainstorming in my head. I was like, which song is that?
Yeah, so the finale track is called Barefoot.
Okay.
And it's like, it starts out very self-titled, very like clean guitars, clean vocals. Then it goes in and me and Alex come in with heavier guitars and there's like this really, really sick riff going on. The bass is doing some more like stabs and it's getting more into the heavy stuff that we like. And then it goes into the chorus and the chorus is like this huge mix of everything where Michayla is singing this soaring lead part and then me and Lynn are stacking harmonies beneath it. And so there's this 3-part harmony going on and there's heavy guitars. Me and Alex are doing like heavy guitar parts that are drop tuned, but then they also have additional chord extensions on them. So there's that like nuancedness from Self-Titled. And then going into the breakdown, there's heavy guitar riffs and then it goes into tapping that comes from the math rock side of things. And so it's not metalcore, it's not math rock, it's not indie. It's like this weird conglomeration of it all. So it's heavy, but not heavy. It's
Not to say that we're trendsetters, but
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Just
Don't have that
throw it out
expectation,
there.
please. Just
I think
Yeah.
people are gonna either love it or hate it. Is kind of what I'm.
It's a
thinking.
big change from Self-Titled, and I think it's going to be controversial when it first comes out because it is so different from Self-Titled. But ultimately, that's the direction we want to go, and we believe in these songs, and I think that this album is going to probably be the one that people start remembering us by.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this album is Forever We Roam. We all had a hand in the creation of it. It hasn't been recorded yet. We're all still writing. This is Forever We Roam, and it's a good album.
Funny enough, our last
Nice.
album was called Forever We Roam because we thought that encompassed what the band was, and then we said,
Yeah.
never mind.
Which was
why did
the
why
last
didn't
album.
you change the title halfway through, or like upon release?
We already had the artwork for it.
Well, we'll see. We didn't have a name for it for a long time, and I think like we were getting pretty close, and we didn't know what to say. I remember being like, I think I was just like, well, why not just self-title it? And then I think we were all like cool with that.
Yeah, it was looking back, we probably should have gone with one of the alternate titles that we came up with because we didn't name it Forever We Roam because it encapsulated what the band was and our achievements so far. We called it Forever We Roam because we didn't have any other ideas. But that album was entirely written by me. I mean, that's not me being pretentious or cocky or anything because it's not a fantastic album. Like, there was, at the time that album was written, it was me and my friend from middle school, and she didn't want to write much. So when she quit, I had to rewrite a couple of the things that she had written, but at the time I was the only writer in the band, and so that album was written by me because there was no one else to write. And so that album would better have been named JT in Forever We Roam than Forever We Roam because it's not us. Like, that album is not us, it's my freshman year self. This next album, these guys are not going to give themselves enough credit because they're all wonderful, humble people, but we all had a big hand in writing this next album and inspiring each other. So even the riffs that I wrote were inspired by the stuff that Alex had been doing, and the drum parts that I wrote in for Aidan, some of the parts, they were either parts that you already wrote or they were inspired by your drumming style. And Aidan has been writing almost all of his own drum parts. Alex wrote a lot of the guitar and a chunk of the lyrics. I mean, it's been so much more collaborative than before. And even though we had most of the album written when you did join the band, Lynn, like, Lynn has been working on some really, really cool stuff as well that I'm not going to say too much about because, you know, confidentiality. But we finally hit our stride as a band, and I think we're all really happy with the way things are going, and we all have a hand in making things pretty heavily.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And yeah, I guess it's a good point to say congratulations on the successful Kickstarter, which
thank you so
for
much.
people listening is ongoing. So even though you met your goal, the sky's the limit. And I know as with most Kickstarters, the more you guys get, the better product you can put together and produce. And from what I understand, all the proceeds and funds are going to go directly towards recording in a studio. Is that a fair assessment or understanding?
You want to take that one?
Yeah. Like, about why the Kickstarter is up and stuff?
Yeah, and like who's...
Okay. Yeah. So, we got in contact with a man named Jeremy Valentine.
He liked one of our Instagram posts,
Yeah.
and I thanked him for it.
Yeah. No, he like JT said, he liked one of our Instagram posts, and we took that as, oh my gosh, we should talk to him. He was the previous guitarist of a band called New Year's Day, who is, like, at least one of my favorite bands. I know JT really likes them. You guys all like them.
I love New Year's Day.
But he basically, like, after talking to him, he offered to produce the album for us. He has, like, a big production company that he, like, runs or whatever, or works for. I don't know if he runs it or whatever. But he wants to produce our album, and we were kind of like, this is a really big deal. We really want this album to be the best that it can be, but we don't have the money for it. It's a really good deal in terms of the production quality, but we're all high school and college kids. Like, we don't have $5,000 to just drop on an album right out of pocket right now. So we're very happy we hit our goal, because we were kind of mentally preparing to have to put in a little bit of our own just to, like, hit the marker. But we hit it, Sunday night, I think? Monday night?
Monday night?
I think it was Monday night. Monday night, it was
cool.
we hit our goal after, like, being really worried, because we didn't even have to put in the money we made on merch either, because we put up merch, and all the merch proceeds will still go to, like, album and all that. But we didn't even have to put that money in yet before we hit the goal, which was, like, blew our minds. We were like, whoa, like, what?
Like, the last day of the Kickstarter is actually tomorrow, so we still have time to get more funds, but, like, as of right now, totaling in extra money from the Kickstarter and proceeds from our last merch batch, we have like an extra $1,000 to spend on music videos and promo and merch, and so we kind of pour everything we have into Forever We Roam. Like, we all live this band, and
Your
so
chat is always going on with something.
Always.
It's like, it's very, like, I guess in a way emotional to think about, like, because we wouldn't have been able to do it if it, like, really annoyingly, we wouldn't have been able to do it without our TikTok account. Which is, like, I hate that that's, like, the thing that, like, worked for us. But, like, we were like, look, TikTok works. I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of people blow up on TikTok.
JT.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
I'm gonna tell the Disney Benjamin story after this.
Okay, but, like, we we had like a video go like kind of like viral on TikTok, but like viral enough that it got people's attention, and that's where like most of our donations came from. We were really surprised to see just a bunch of strangers putting their money in, and not just family and friends, because that was kind of all we
like
knew.
Into the Kickstarter via TikTok.
Yeah, like that was like really crazy, because before this like past month, all we had were the only people who were like listening were family and friends. But now we actually have like made a lot of really cool friends with like other bands in different states, just random people who follow us, like we see their names pop up, like it's really cool.
Yeah.
What were you laughing so hard about?
So this past month has been a huge month of growth for us. For Self-Titled, like Michayla said, we were a band whose entire fan base was family and friends, and with this TikTok, I was expecting it to just be like a completely ridiculous spam page where we just post outtakes from practices and ridiculous things like that. And I posted this one poorly worded video that totally blew up because
let's just say it was a little controversial.
It was a little controversial. It was a joke about how the band was turning from an indie band into like a more metalcore sounding band. And I said that granted, it was poorly worded. I will say it was poorly worded, so it made it sound like we were saying Breaking Benjamin was metalcore, but we were saying like we were going metalcore with influences from Breaking Benjamin, and I just didn't enunciate that properly. And so the video blew up because every metal fan that found that video immediately went to the comments and commented, "Did you just say Breaking Benjamin is metalcore? What?
Disgusting."
Disgusting." And so, but the way the TikTok algorithm works is the more interaction you get, the more people it shows it to. So we had a couple of elitists in the comments like, "Breaking Benjamin? Metalcore?" And then it sent it out to 100 more elitists, who then pushed it out to 1,000 elitists, who then, and now the video's at 100,000. It's like above 100,000 views.
Wait,
Or 100,000.
100 and 1,000?
100. No, 100,000.
I'm sure it's
Wait,
at
actually?
100,000.
100,000.
It hit 100,000 like last week or something.
Yeah.
Dude, what?
it's at
I'm so
100,000.
confused. What?
And, but because of that, we were able to post follow-up videos with clips of our new songs, and the people that are watching this video, when they go on our page so that they can roast us, then they see our original stuff and they're like, "Oh wait, this is actually not bad." And so we've grown from a family and friend band to now all of a sudden we have people anticipating this release. And like it's just the craziest feeling that we have people that want to listen to our album, and it wouldn't have happened if it weren't for TikTok, which is it grinds my gears that we are getting a start because of TikTok.
That's basically how it works nowadays, though. If you blow up on TikTok once, you like.
Yeah, TikTok is media now.
Like if your song blows up on TikTok, then a bunch of people will suddenly just listen to it and then just should put it all over TikTok. So
It's
pro tip to musicians: just put your music on TikTok.
Yeah, do what we did and make a really controversial hot take on TikTok.
oh god.
Did any of those elitist dudes come to you and like, "Oh, I like your music, and I realized that you didn't say what I thought you said"?
Oh yeah, one of them donated
Any
a tenth of
apologies?
our
Yeah.
Kickstarter. One of them donated like a tenth of our Kickstarter. There was this one guy who was like, he commented on the first video like, "Did you just call Breaking Benjamin metalcore?" And then he saw our original stuff and he was like, "Yo, this is actually cool." And he started following us and watching our live streams, and we built a relationship with this guy who was like originally just there making fun of our terrible Breaking Benjamin hot take. And the more we kept like talking with him, the more he was like, "Yeah, I'm really excited for this album." And then come yesterday, I checked the Kickstarter, and he's at the top, and he's donated like a tenth of our funds.
Wow,
It
that's
was
awesome.
Crazy. Have you thanked him?
Oh yeah, I sent him a
Okay.
whole nice
Okay,
letter,
that's
and
good.
I'm also like sending handwritten letters. I'm mailing them to everybody on the list.
Oh, that's nice.
I
So
think
if you guys wanna like sign those as well, I can.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We still have to. I can't wait to sign CDs.
Yeah, we have to sign CDs as like a reward. We're sending out signed CDs. this is the first time anyone has ever valued our signature. I don't know why. That just makes me so like, it makes me so happy. It feels weird that there are people anticipating this release, and I don't know. It makes me
I think it
feel
just
very
shows if you
special.
grind and you do the work and you guys come together and collaborate
Yeah.
and try to create something good, and like it's not just your first, your second, but gonna be your third album. Like that hard work
I mean, we're
pays
finally
off, you know.
we're just finally starting to kind of like see that payoff, and
Yeah.
the album isn't even out yet.
It's just crazy to see where we were, like, even only a month or two
A month ago.
Like, we had not anywhere near the kind of publicity we had, you know, as we keep saying, it was, you know, to just family and friends. And then, you know, with our growth over social media, like, we just exploded. And we're not, like, amazingly huge, but, like, compared to where we were in a fantastic spot.
We got like 200 followers on Instagram like the first day that video blew up. We gained like 2,000 followers on TikTok that day. Like it was crazy. Like I remember when that video started blowing up, it was like 3 a.m. or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
And I
texted the
started
group chat.
texting the group chat, and Aidan of all people was awake.
I think I was the only one that was still awake.
And so we were like freaking out, and I went to bed and we had like 400 followers. We had like gained like 400 followers in the video, and I woke up and we had like over 1,000, and it was like, whoa. We only had like 50 followers at that point.
I think I
on
stayed
TikTok.
up. I
Oh,
stayed
that's
up
sick.
for quite a while watching it, like just refreshing. It was so cool.
It's addicting for sure.
Oh no, we only had like 10 followers on the TikTok, and it was all of our family and friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was like 10 people that followed our TikTok, and I go to bed very early compared to everybody else, and I also wake up very late, and so I went to bed that night at like 10 o'clock, and everyone else was probably still awake doing God knows what, and then I woke up the next morning for school at like 7 a.m, and I opened my phone to like literally hundreds of notifications about
That's
this
nice.
TikTok. I mean, we had a couple hundred people follow us on Instagram, a couple thousand follow us on TikTok. That was the most bizarre day I've had in a very long time.
Yeah, same. I didn't even realize the TikTok blew up until like way later when you guys were actually saying like it blew up, and I was like, oh, no way. Like I don't know. It just feels so surreal to me that many people care about us, because
Yeah.
like we're normal people. Like, you know, I'm used to like a couple of people maybe caring about me, but like now 100,000 like know we exist. Like that's just, I don't know. Like that's so surreal.
Something that I always say that I think is just so crazy is like the average person, like when you see like musicians with a following, you don't really see them as just like people at that point. You're so just like blindsided by the fact that they're famous, they have a following, but like we're not even technically famous yet or anything along that line. But I've like, it's changed my perspective so much, because now we have like a couple dozen people who like see us like in that like idolizing way, and it's like, what? Like people see us that way? We're
I
just
don't know
a
if
normal
anyone's
person.
idolizing
Not
us.
not idolizing.
I don't know if anybody
But-
would ever idolize us in their right mind.
We did get fan art.
We seem closer to that.
Yeah,
than ever, though.
but seeing
Yeah.
you guys as like musicians and
Not as
people
just
who that
people.
they like your the stuff that you're making. So
Yeah.
I guess you started to see other famous people as just people, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Michayla?
no, it's definitely changed my perspective on like the people that I listen to, because now I like kind of get it. Like it's just a job. Like it's nothing. Like of course there's like a ton of people watching you, but at the end of the day, it's a job and you're passionate about it, and that's kind of all it is.
I feel like it's like we've broken like a certain barrier, I suppose, that I feel like a lot of like local and small bands don't really get. And we still have plenty of, I guess, barriers, metaphorical barriers to get through. But like we're at a point where it's kind of a transition phase where it's like we actually have a lot of potential, I believe. And like I think a lot of bands don't really go much further than just kind of playing some local shows every once in a while and doing covers, and like it's just crazy that we're already like past that. And I think that's kind of part of like, you know, why it's changed our perspective on like the artists that we listen to, because like with this supposed transition phase, like that's kind of that's how we see that.
Yeah, I like that you talk about it in terms of transition phase and like next hurdles, because it's like the stakes are always increasing and you're not going to settle somewhere, but rather you're like looking to evolve and continue to get influenced in different ways from outside, and also, generate things with that influence together amongst yourselves. I think that's pretty cool, and it's probably why it's resonating with people.
Like something that we like experienced like about a month ago, like right when the Kickstarter started, we got really into like being super active on the social media for Forever We Roam and like commenting on other bands' things. And like it's just crazy how when other bands like see our band account, they're more likely to just respond because we're another band. But that's just like so weird. Like with Happy Hour, do you want to tell the Happy Hour story?
Oh my gosh. This is just one of like the crazy developments but that we've had in the past couple months. But there's this band that I absolutely love called Happy Hour, and they do I love them because they do this mix of hip hop and metalcore, and so it's very fun and synthy, and it's really energetic like hip hop is, but then it's got riffy guitars, and they've got two singers. There's one that's like very hip hoppy and soulful, and he's got this like smooth as butter voice, and then there's the other singer who's got the more like aggressive screamy vocals for metal. And I just absolutely love them as a band, and so I followed them on the Forever We Roam page just to follow them because I wanted to keep track of their achievements and everything. And I commented, they had released a new song just a couple weeks ago, and so I commented on the post like, "Yo guys, I love the new song. This is awesome. I've been listening to it all week." And they responded to the comment and they were like, "Yeah, we should play a show next time we're in North Carolina." And I was like, what? What did you just say?
Like completely unprompted. Like we had never tried talking to them before. None of that. They just kind of were like, and they're not even in the grand scheme of things like a huge band either, but they're much bigger than we are.
Yeah, so they're big to the point where like I had been listening to them regularly before they ever knew we existed.
Yeah.
It's the fact that we were looked at as another band instead of just like a local band is like crazy.
Yeah. And I think that's going to stick with me for it, like if we ever do get big to the point where we can tour, which that's kind of the dream. I think it used to be a pipe dream, but now it's more realistic.
To become a reality of
just keep setting those. I mean, not that I'm any person in a position to like give advice, but I think you just keep setting those hurdles and just keep hurtling over them. Some of them might be spaced out, further than others, but there's no reason why that's not achievable for you guys. Yeah.
And so I think if we do achieve that, which I'm really hoping we will, I think that mentality the mentality of the small band is going to stick with me. And I think I really want to be one of those bands that is known for supporting other small acts and musicians. And I've kind of thought about like if we were a big band, how would I do that? And so I really, really want to give as many bands as I can the chances that we've been given, and because I know I'm in that part right now where I'm absolutely thrilled with every opportunity we get, and it's just it makes me so excited, and I always text the other guys, and just like that high that I feel from that, I want to let as many other people experience that as possible. And so I've been thinking if we tour, maybe have the regular opening act, but instead of doing a second opening act, I can't remember who it was, but there was another band that I saw that whenever they tour, they always have one opening act and then one local band play with them. So for every city they play, they find a young local band and have them play to give them some exposure. And so I want to do that, and I want to share music from other small bands on our Instagram. And I think that's that's going to stick with me for a long time. I really, really want to give as many people as possible the opportunities that we've been given, because I don't know, it's just such a crazy feeling.
Yeah, like, and I think it's one of those things where all, like, I forget the exact phrase, but all ships rise with the tide kind of thing. So
yeah,
like, just because you're supporting other ships to rise doesn't mean that they're competition or something. That's like one thing that I try to think about if I feel envious of somebody else doing something really cool. Like,
yeah.
oh man, I want to do something cool. It's not like it's not a competition in that way. Like, there's
and I think part of that comes from
infinite number of listeners out there. So like, you could pull other people into the fold and introduce your listeners, and everybody benefits together. Do you think there's a certain point where, like, I guess speaking about like COVID and like, what was your pre-COVID playing schedule like, and what's the scene like in Charlotte? Did you ever travel within North Carolina, like, I don't know, maybe someplace like Raleigh, where I'm at, before COVID, and then post-COVID, where do you see your performances being, and kind of the transition from pre-COVID to post-COVID, the types of places that you'll play?
So I'll take pre-COVID, and then someone else can take post-COVID. Pre-COVID, we had not even started recording Self-Titled, and so we were still in the early phases of how do we follow up this original EP that we did way back when. And the lineup was me, Alex, Aidan, and then our old singer and whatever bassist we were on at the time. And we were still an 80s cover band. So we would we literally just played within like a 2-mile radius of this studio right here. We would go around to bars and restaurants and play covers of 80s songs, like almost exclusively. And we would throw in a couple songs from Beige Couch. We played songs from Self-Titled in their early stages. So there are videos over Instagram that you can, if you dig hard enough, you can find them, where we're playing songs from Self-Titled about a year before they were ever recorded, but let alone released. And I think part of that local music scene is everyone in the local music scene, in at least where we are in the Cornelius, Charlotte area, all the other bands are so supportive of one another. I've never once played a show and felt like competition or felt a sense of competition with any of the other bands, because I don't know if that's universal, because I've never played a show outside of our little bubble. I think I just got really lucky, because in our little bubble there are other bands like Irrational and Aloracadian, and I don't know, all of the other bands in this scene are just so supportive, and they want to see everyone else succeed. And so
most of those people in those bands helped with the ensemble and all that stuff. It's
a pretty tight-knit group.
For sure. And like, most of the people in our little community are high schoolers. Like, there's a really tight-knit like high school and college like band community over here, which is like so wild, because I don't really consider this area like super artsy. Like, it has artsier like parts of this area.
Yeah.
But like, overall, it's not necessarily like an artsy town. But there's people like Carl Gunther, who like, he creates bands like all the time. Like, he's the person who you kind of go to if you're like, I want to play music in a band. He's like, okay, I'll put you somewhere.
That's exactly how I got in Forever We Roam. My mom's coworker knew him, and then he knew.
And so he's been a big.
That's cool.
He's a big person to go to. So most of the people who are in the scene have worked with him once or twice, or like know who he is, and
he's basically like connections guy on ultra steroids. So if you go to Carl and you're like, hey Carl, I need a bassist, more than likely he'll be like, all right, here's a list of 17 bassists in like your immediate region, and here's a list of 39 others that are an extra mile out, and like,
I mean, like, rumor has it he played with Jack White once, like that kind of guy.
oh, he toured with the 80s band Blue Monday. Like he was a big
Like,
he was a big musician in the 80s, and he has since settled down, chopped off his 80s hair, and like he just runs this tiny little. From the outside, it looks like a garage. It looks like a garage in the middle of nowhere, and it's so cool. It's so cool.
Oh, I remember when I saw it.
And
for
what
the
is
first
it
time.
exactly?
It's just like a practice studio. Like, there's a stage,
Oh,
and then
cool.
he has like equipment and stuff. But like, when I met Carl for the first time, I was like 16, I think, and like I pulled up to this building, and it's like very janky looking on the outside.
It looks
like
sketchy.
It's
Like,
very
it's
sketchy.
Like, he makes it as hidden as possible. Like, he doesn't make it like a thing where
There's no signs. There's not even a road.
like he doesn't want
there.
people just like coming in and like interrupting things. Like, he makes it so if you want to play, you have to find him somehow. Like,
It makes it very intimate in that way. It's a very
it's not
cozy.
corporate or like there's
Yeah.
no like business really like feel
and it's
to
very
it.
hands off. I mean, that's how I started playing in a band, and none of us would be here if it wasn't for Carl. But when I was in 5th grade, it was closer to 4th grade actually. I had lost my interest in playing guitar. I just got to a point where I was getting bored with it, and it was a chore to practice. And I knew my friend was in a band with Carl, and I was like, granted my voice was higher pitched at the time, but this is just like I'm telling the story later. I just thought it was so cool that my 4th grade friend was playing in a professional band. And so I went with him one day, and I went to see this guy Carl, who I'd never met before. And I show up, and there's a bunch of other 4th graders in this room with instruments bigger than they are. And
That's awesome.
I'm like, well, I really like Green Day because my friend over here just showed me Green Day. What can we do with that? And Carl's like, oh, you guys like Green Day? All right, let's do some Green Day. And he would just teach us a Green Day song right there. And like, he's like the father of the local band scene. Like, he has raised the other bands. I mean, he raised me on the music that I know now, and he has introduced me to so many other things. And
I mean, like, there was a band around here by the name Irrational.
I love
they've
them.
since broken up, like, as of a couple months ago. But when they were at their peak, like, they were like playing shows all over the state. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they have like 2 EPs out. One
yeah,
EP,
they've got
one
music
album.
out. They did tours in North Carolina all over the place. They've actually toured all as far down south as Florida, I believe. But they got big. They got a considerable following, and they started just like we did, like middle schoolers in Carl's studio. And I don't know, it's just the coolest thing to me. We just have such an amazing local scene.
And it's cool that middle schoolers have like a place to go and
Yeah,
like
for sure.
so
somebody
Carl
kind of
cultivates
directing
that.
them, because I think there's probably a lot of middle schoolers out there who have a guitar and play
Yeah.
and practice religiously, but they're kind of like, all right, now what do I do? I like playing guitar. So
And, I mean, Carl
that's
really
a pretty
cultivates
cool
that.
story.
Yeah, he just takes middle schoolers and like elementary school kids and any child that has any sort of musical ability. He'll just, I don't know, he has this weird way of inspiring you to just do crazy things. Like my last band before Forever We Roam has been my staple for many, many years now. But before that, when I was in probably 5th or 6th grade, I was in a band called Thrive, and we needed a bassist. And
Sounds familiar.
yeah, so we needed
I
a
see a
bassist.
reoccurring
Shocker. And
If you
there
are a
was-
bassist, just move to Charlotte, North Carolina. You will
We
find
need
one.
Yes,
We need
you are in
you.
bassists are in high demand here. Anyway, tangent.
Not for this
we
band,
were-
not for
not for this
Forever We
band, no.
Roam.
Right?
Yes.
Ask her,
Um,
just
right?
ask her.
And so we were just sitting there, and the girl that was practicing there before us was just taking violin lessons from Carl, and her
I laughed too.
so her younger sister was just there tagging along because she had to be. And
Is this Izzy and Alex?
this is Abby K.
Oh.
And so her younger sister was there just tagging along. And so she comes out of the bathroom and Carl's like, have you ever played an instrument before? And she was like, no. And he was like, all right, come up here. I'll give you a bass. And so he taught her bass. Like on the spot, he showed her a Green Day song and she played with us. And she was the bassist of the band for like the next 2 years and has since gone on to do her own solo act and has a bunch of music out. And she's got some kind of record deal with a record place in Charlotte. Like,
I don't know.
Carl's crazy.
That's a pretty awesome story that is probably also pretty specific to you guys. Like, I wonder if there's a Carl everywhere you go. Probably not.
There's a
There
Carl.
needs to be.
There's a Carl in every city.
So what do you
Carl
guys?
in every city.
It's a Carl in every. That should be your next album title.
Oh, that's what
Carl in
we
every
should
city.
name it.
After Beals.
And that's when you start touring.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's when you start touring out of state.
Yeah.
To introduce a
for
Carl
every
to
small
every city.
bands that we bring onto the tour, there needs to be a member named Carl.
Oh god.
Can we sing
I
the
can
story
just
of
I can
Beals
just legally
Goggins?
change my name to Carl
No,
or
keep that
something.
secret,
No.
or keep that secret.
Can we
No,
just,
we can't say. We
I'm
can't
just gonna
say
start
Beals
calling
Goggins.
Aidan Carl.
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 Oh, also, I just wanna interject real fast.
Oh, God.
That was not a word, I don't think.
Interject's a word.
Yeah, I
Is
think
it?
you got it right.
Yeah, it is.
You're
Go
good.
with it.
I just want to
Yeah,
interject
it
real
is.
fast and say thank you for the in-depth questions. I was just thinking about it and like your questions have gotten us talking so much and we're talkative people, but you've been asking really good questions, so thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for saying thank you. It's always refreshing to know that I'm doing my job okay, because I do sometimes I'm like, did that one kind of fall flat? So I do appreciate it.
No,
but yeah,
thank
you
you.
didn't
You've
answer
been asking
the
good
second
questions.
half. Yeah, the second half of the question is what's like post-COVID touring look like? In what scenario do you start moving outside of Charlotte and going other places in the state and like, you know?
Felt like 40 minutes ago
That's
you asked that.
I know we branched so far
No,
away
it's okay.
from that.
Listen, the whole point of the podcast is to be tangential and see, I might be making words up. To go in really random directions. So I appreciate that we're going around in pretty fun circles. But to circle it all the way back, what do you guys think? Like
You want to take post-COVID?
post-COVID?
Sure. As far as post-COVID, like we're, with our kind of sudden success in social media, like it's kind of seeming more realistic to kind of branch out into, perhaps other cities and other states because, we haven't left the Charlotte area, obviously. And, even for now, like we're still probably gonna like stay within the Charlotte area mostly just because we need to at least just play any show at all, like as a full band, because Flynn here has not played a show with us at all, and we don't want
I mean, I technically
her
have
first
a
thing to
show.
come back is like like some big tour that we had somehow planned, so like we got to get some shows under our belt, which are probably going to be some local things, but we got some. We're going to see what the future holds, but we also do have some stuff in the works, perhaps in other states and such, but I guess we'll just kind of see. We're kind of just more focusing on like the album and such right now, and also like where that's going to be taking us.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you also gave like the appropriate level of tease and intrigue that like we
And
might
that's
have some
all I'll
stuff
leave it
in
at.
the
That's
works.
all I can leave it at.
I love it. I love it. That's cool.
Let's just say we legally are not allowed to talk.
Yeah,
about
we are.
anything.
Never mind.
That's it. That's all. So,
Another question. Anyway.
guys.
no
Good
more
question, good
questions. That's all
No
I
further
have to
questions.
say.
No comment.
And then going back, like this is my problem in podcasting. I oftentimes like circle back thematically, and I want to do one such pivot right now to the do-it-yourself approach to things and learn more about how you guys put your latest music video together. Is it Machine? Is
Oh, I
the
want
title?
it. Yeah. Wait,
No, we're talking about this so bad. She was talking about it on the way
I
here.
call on no.
On the way here, she
Aiden,
was
call on
talking
Aiden.
about it so bad.
We'll let Aiden do it because he was just not in the video.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was okay.
Let's just say there's a story about Machine.
There's a lot. So there was like regular challenges, like bringing a drum set into a forest. That wasn't fun. But there was other stuff. Like bugs were a big problem. We had like a lot of lights and stuff, and they were everywhere. They were all over my drum set and everything. And another problem
Let me tell you, being a recent transplant to North Carolina, the mosquitoes are pretty legit. Like,
they're so bad here.
Have you been like here long enough to like go through the summer?
You guys should go to Florida.
Yeah, so I moved to Raleigh like 2 months before the pandemic.
Okay.
So I moved at an interesting time, and then I was faced with the wrath of the mosquitoes 2020 edition.
You haven't really been able to like experience Raleigh yet.
I do want to say, unfortunately, there were way bigger bugs than mosquitoes, and they were pretty plentiful.
A big old spider just made a web right above us.
Like, I don't even know what was there, but it was terrifying.
But were they like unidentified species, or were they as damaging as the mosquitoes? Because the mosquitoes do pretty bad damage.
I don't know. I was just carrying fear most of the time.
So the dancer in the video was supposed to be shot at night, and we got all set up and we started to film, and we had to cancel that film night because we got swarmed by bees. It was 11
definitely
o'clock
more
at night.
damaging than mosquitoes.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it was
11
days.
o'clock at night. We're all like in the middle of a forest, soaking wet from sweat because it is 11 o'clock in July in the forest, and we have been carting heavy gear all over the place. And we get set up, we start filming. The dancer is laying on the ground for that first shot, and a bee lands on her, and all of a sudden we get like swarmed by bees. It was ridiculous.
Thankfully, I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, nobody else was there for that day.
Yeah.
I was the only one there because I was directing, and that was like not the band day.
But
that was terrifying.
What I was there for was when we got the police called on us because for some reason, smoke machines and red lights for some reason look like fire. So
from afar.
I love how
So
they call the
people
police
were a
for
little
fire.
concerned.
But we had a lot of issues. We had. I don't think we mentioned this bassist yet, but we had a bassist at this time that eventually quit after the video was shot. And because there was that many people there, we couldn't get a full band shot. And due to like time delays and things, for example, cops showing up and us having to talk to them, set us back a lot. And I think I only got like maybe 5 seconds in the entire music video because I did not have any time to do it.
Aidan, don't complain. I got 0 seconds.
Oh, well, you didn't exist yet.
So big question to the whole band are they going to be compensated with time in the next music video disproportionately?
Yeah, so the next video, I'm not going to reveal too much, but the next music video that we have planned like 3 or 4 music videos for the next album. And
sweet.
Everyone gets their own like focused shots plus the full band shots, hopefully. So it's going to be much more. We learned a lot of lessons with the first video.
Machine was rough. Let's just.
It's impressive that it came out as well as it did, and I attribute a lot of that to the editor of it, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
He saved the footage a lot.
I think about an hour of us being there was just Matt trying so hard to get all of us in the shot together.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ended up being like we had like 20 minutes left to get it shot.
The whole thing, the entire thing.
Like the whole video, we had 20 minutes to shoot, basically. And we ended up just scrapping the full band and just doing individuals. But it definitely like was rough, but we all liked the video. Like for the most
it turned out looking great.
Considering I would have never guessed that
that music video was a huge lesson in improvisation.
Everything was going so well.
I think when you're making
right
a big video, you have to.
Like everything went so well right up until the sun went down and things like we had to start kicking into gear. But then all of the things we hadn't thought about were being an issue became an issue, and it was just like, man, that's rough.
What was the time constraint on the back half that you only had 20 minutes or a specific cutoff?
Well, it was Aidan and Alex. You guys didn't drive yet.
Yeah, it was mainly just like kind of like ride constraints. Also, just the general fact that it was getting late and we can't be like shooting a music video like in like a neighborhood. I mean, it was kind of far from the neighborhood, but like close enough to where it's we don't want to be causing a scene. But yeah, it was mainly just like like our parents needed to pick us up at this specific time. You know, that's how
Yeah.
naive we were, because we had to have our parents pick us up.
And it was just like we were all just like ready to go.
Yeah.
Like by the
Yeah.
end of it, we were all just kind of like, I'm over it. I'm so over it.
Yeah, that kind of situation is extremely exhausting. And then, like, in terms of, I mean, it's very well done considering the challenges you guys faced. So,
Yeah.
how did you conceive of the concept? You know, you mentioned that there's a dancer. How did you collaborate, like, across mediums to put together this music video, which is a practice in multimedia creativity?
I think the original concept I came up with, and then we kind of changed it. Because the original concept that I had.
Oh.
Oh. We have the mask from the video in here, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I came up with the like original concept of having like a dancer kind of like roaming through the halls. It was originally going to be like in an empty house, which like we were going to do in the house I was previously living in, because my family had just moved out of our house and we still owned it, so it was pretty empty and we could have used it, but we ended up not being able to use it, and we made a bunch of adjustments to kind of fit with the theme of like having a dancer like kind of like dancing like to this like kind of mysterious like dance to this song. I'm blanking on like a word to describe it. But then we added in like having the band in, and then kind of the little details. Like with being outside and with COVID and stuff, it was hard to find a location that everyone would be safe at.
And a lot of that credit goes to our wonderful dancer. It was my friend Ainsley, who she and I had been friends for a while from the local theater scene, because I used to be a theater kid. And she was like this amazing dancer. And so I texted her and I was like, hey, do you want to be a dancer in a music video? And she was like, yeah, sure, that sounds awesome. And we had another choreographer who was the choreography teacher from one of the shows that I did. And then like a week before the show, she like threw out her back and she was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I choreographed the whole thing, but I will not be able to teach the dancer as I cannot move. You're on your own for choreography. So then I texted Ainsley and I was like, hey, me again. How do you feel about choreographing it too in like the next 3 days? And she was like, all right. And she did. And so that whole dance that she does throughout the video, which like a majority of it's not even shown because of the band shots, but she choreographed the entire song and she memorized it in like 3 days, and it was crazy. Everything about that video process was just something went wrong and then something even cooler came out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's one thing that went wrong.
That's a pretty cool anecdote. I like that. Yeah. I filmed a movie back like 10 years ago or so, and it was a very similar process. Murphy's Law all over the place, just shit going haywire, but you get what you can, and then the finished product ends up being something that you couldn't have expected, and usually, hopefully, a good way, which was the case for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I wonder too about your lyrics and like general messaging and like what the lyrics mean to you, if it's like very deep things that you're trying to explore, and if those things are shared amongst all band members, or if it's just sounds good in the moment. Like, what are your relationships to the lyrics and the what you're putting out there?
It's been pretty different across each album so far. So, I mean, Beige Couch, we were in middle school. We were trying to write cool, angsty lyrics that were what the cool kids in Green Day would write. And so Beige Couch was not about anything in particular. Those lyrics were written specifically to sound cool. Some of them kind of did, some of them fell pretty flat. Then Self-Titled, I wrote the lyrics that are on Self-Titled, and by that time I had some more personal experiences in my life, and so a majority of the songs on Self-Titled were based on very specific events in my life that I made the lyrics very cryptic so that everyone could relate to them more, because that's a big thing for me, is I like music more when I can relate to the lyrics. And so just a specific example, the song The Escape is, I wrote that song about a specific friend group I was in middle school that was like, it was getting really toxic and I had to get out of there. And so it's not all that deep, it's not all that super emotional or complex. It's just a song about escaping a dangerous situation, but anyone who's ever had to escape a dangerous situation can then relate to that song. It's no longer specific to anybody. It's no longer specific to just the people that have had to escape a toxic middle school friend group.
Right.
And so
do you personally feel like some relief when you write the lyrics and like you put something together that allows you to express yourself in that way?
Yeah, it's almost cathartic to get it out on paper and be like, here you go, world. Here are my problems. They're in the past. They can't bother me anymore. Have fun with them.
Yeah. I think so. I wrote just quickly, like, listening from Nerve. One of the main lines I think is the walls are closing in, and from Machine, they are telling me, is like, out of what I was able to listen to so far, I was like, man, these lyrics people probably relate pretty well to these lyrics, considering quarantine and COVID and lockdown. And maybe more so than being timeless, they're really pertinent to the time we live in now. It was just like my own personal thought as I was listening.
And that's a good observation, because Machine's actually another really great example of that. Machine was written about some very specific things that some very specific people said about me, and it was hurtful that some friends of mine were saying some bad things about me. And so instead of writing a song calling them out by name and naming the specific things they said, I made it super general. And so in Machine, the whole lyrics revolve around someone who's struggling with their own identity, and the voices that everyone else around them, they're telling me, they're just creating more noise that's making it hard to figure out what you want and who you are. And so the song Machine is kind of realizing that you can't rely on everyone else's opinions of you to dictate who you are. You have to make your own way. You have to make your own path. And so that's where the whole song shifts in the very last chorus, when Michayla goes from the regular "they're telling me" into the whole "let in the ones I want." That's like when you finally realize you have to choose who you're going to let in, who you're going to allow to help you and shape you into the person that you can be. And that was super metaphorical, but like you get the idea. I mean, it's just taking specific events and turning it into a song that anyone can relate to. And I think going back to the question of how are the lyrics going to be on the next album, it's that, but much deeper, because on the next album we've all had more intense experiences as we're growing up, because we're still, I mean, I'm 17, I'm still underage, Lynn is too. We're still growing up, but we've had more intensely emotional experiences than we had in middle school and freshman year. And so some of the songs on the next album are written about some very, I mean, almost traumatic events, and they've been pushed metaphorical to where anyone can relate to them, but this time they're better, they're deeper, they're more emotional. I mean, this next album lyrically it's by far the best we've ever done. And that's awesome. Alex has been helping out too. Alex and I have mostly split the lyrics. I mean, Alex has been doing a ton.
A good bit, yeah. I mean, like, it's a big part of like the album is kind of just a lot of our personal struggles, especially with like mental health and mental illness, because that's that's something that a lot of people like, suffer through, and that's something I think needs to be talked about more. And that's like you said, it was cathartic, to kind of write it out. Like I find it very therapeutic to kind of put all my thoughts down on like, I was gonna say a piece of paper, but I write all my lyrics on like Google Docs, Arial 11. Anyway, just to kind of get it all out and really kind of form something out of it is just very, very satisfying. And to be able to share it with like a general audience, and if they can like relate to it and get something out of it, then that is like incredibly rewarding. So I'm really hoping that's what's gonna happen. But as I said, we're feeling pretty confident in these songs, so I'm really hoping that this album will be able to reach out to some people.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'll say, as like a listener of music at large over the course of pandemic, like you said, I think I struggled here and there with like my own self being locked into this house, having just moved to Raleigh, and being locked down and not knowing anybody, not being able to socialize and stuff. And I have benefited from finding a couple of songs that like just really hit it on the head for me personally. And I'm sure that because you're putting yourself into these lyrics so much that you'll find a wider audience that could relate to them in a more general sense, but it's very likely too that you'll find people that relate to it in as personal a way that you do, having written it.
I will say one song, it's Untruth. I basically wrote like all the lyrics for. It was heavily influenced by a song that like, I listened to and eventually kind of like found the meaning of, and like it really like, it resonated with me. The song is Narrow Forte by Slipknot. Essentially the whole song is kind of just a diss track on mental illness, just to kind of condense that. But it, like some of the lyrics like really pop out to me because it really just kind of helps to like, it's like putting yourself on the offensive for any struggles that you might be going through, instead of you just sitting there and taking it and trying to just get by. You're able to kind of fight back a little bit, and that's kind of it's like you said, finding this song that like really resonates with you. And so that was my inspiration, huge, for that song, In Truth.
Yeah. It's like a cliche line, but there have been songs I've listened to over the pandemic for the first time, and I was like, he or she gets it. Like, they get it. They get me. And I'm just listening to a song. But it's like immensely therapeutic to find like, oh wow, they're putting into lyrics what I'm thinking and like something that I'm struggling with, and there's another person out there who has that same thought or concept or concern. And I love that you guys are approaching your songwriting in such a personal and real and maybe even like vulnerable way.
Yeah. And you in particular might like the second song on the album, Let's Do Crime. Let's Do Crime is it's loosely based on the story of Bonnie and Clyde, but I think if we're taking that metaphorical standpoint, and your experience is you have moved during a pandemic, you're in a city that you've had to know from, living in it during a pandemic. The song is, there's a bunch of lines about being so bored that you just want to like go out and rob a bank for some excitement. It's gotten so mundane and boring that you just like got to go out and do something crazy. And so while I wrote the song with the idea of it being based on Bonnie and Clyde, someone like you might be able to relate to it because you're stuck at home and it's boring and mundane and you want to do something interesting.
Yeah, it feels like I'm doing something illegal if I go to a restaurant and eat outside. It's like, ooh, I'm being a rebel.
That's crazy. Crazy. Who does that?
It's like the highlight of my week to go out and eat somewhere.
Honestly.
This
I
is
know,
the highlight
right?
of my week.
When it used to be like the norm, where I'd be like, okay, I'll just go out. And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I feel very guilty sitting in this restaurant eating food like a person.
Yeah, and like also paranoid, like, oh, that guy walked by, his mask wasn't on his nose, like, do I have to be concerned? I shouldn't be concerned, but should I be concerned?
Yeah.
It's like a wild world. Is there any other like anecdotal or general way that COVID has affected, besides the obvious, I guess, affected the ways that you guys have had to work together and putting together this album. Anything that stands out to you?
Yeah. Our
that
whole
is worth
dynamic has
mentioning?
shifted. I mean, before the pandemic, we never were active on a group chat. We never called. We had like 2 or 3 practices a week. If there were no shows coming up, we would just practice once a week or so. But if there was a show coming up, we would do 2 or 3 practices a week. And I mean, we would only ever talk and write while we were at these practices in person. And then when the pandemic happened, we basically made a group chat. When the pandemic went into place, we basically made a group chat because we never really used it before. We just used it to talk about practices. And so this whole pandemic has just been this weird learning curve of how do we become a productive band online, never seeing each other. This what you're seeing right here, I think it's one of 3 or 4 times that we've seen each other since COVID started, because we had the audition for Lynn, we had the audition for the last bassist, we had the music video, and we had half of us here for an acoustic thing, and that's pretty much it.
We had like,
Wow. Thank you guys for coming together for this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we were needing an excuse to anyway, so thank you for being our excuse.
This is technically my second time meeting Alex, Aidan, and Michayla in person.
Oh,
Yeah.
So do you guys practice? Like, do you do live practice virtually?
No, we haven't
okay.
in a very long time. We need to, but I mean,
Yeah.
I've been missing it. But I think it's going back to your point before, like how has it changed our workflow and everything. It's honestly brought us closer together, because before, when we were just meeting at practices, we were there for almost a business perspective. I mean, we were there so that we could perfect our shows and write and get everything productive done that we needed to, and then throughout the week we wouldn't talk all that much, and it was just not very personal. And then once the pandemic went into place, we started talking more in the group chat, and we started doing more game nights, and it helped with like the shuffling of people, because with this lineup our personalities work better together, so we were just better friends anyway. But we've also just gotten more personal. We started doing game nights, we started talking and telling jokes to each other, and it's honestly brought us closer together, which is the weirdest thing for me to say, but the pandemic brought us closer together.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, and it's like the silver lining, right? Is there anything like from a creativity standpoint or production standpoint or otherwise that you guys think will continue on and last after the pandemic, that was born from the pandemic as a band?
Anyone want to take that? Aiden, you want to go?
I was blanking out.
I was also blanking out.
Oh no.
I'll go. So I feel like
I'll take the next one
Nobody's
though.
listening to the host.
I was literally just thinking about, like, it was like, oh, it's so poetic.
I feel like
we're far apart and yet we
Yeah.
got closer together. It's so beautiful.
That's exactly how I was like.
Then you're like, oh, question. Oh.
I don't know. I mean,
I think that's probably going to be my answer, though. Like, I feel like because we have taken this time to get closer together, and we've gotten to know each other better, and we've figured out each other's personalities and musical styles so much better. I think moving forward, once we are able to be in person again, our practices are going to be far less productive. We're going to be doing much more. We're going to be doing much more just joking and screwing around and getting nothing done. And B, that is going to be our greatest asset as well, because we're going to be able to play off each other so much. And whenever you are forced to sit down and write, it's a little stressful. But when you're close with each other and you're just screwing around, someone will play something and all of a sudden everyone else will go, wait, that's cool. Record that. We'll put that in our next song. And so it being less professional and being closer together as people, it's helped our workflow because we're more comfortable with each other. We're not afraid of messing up around each other. We're not afraid of writing things that aren't good. We're just having fun, and we're here to have fun with each other and just enjoy music. And as a result, our music is so much more organic.
Yeah, and those relationships, I guess, were like as you guys are saying, born out of the pandemic and bonding over the course of like collectively figuring out how to manage through. But like, do you think you'll have sessions and practices as much? Are you going to incorporate virtual meetings and, you know, however you guys are managing yourselves virtually? Do you think that's going to become more a part of daily life as a band and like your part of your overall workflow? Or do you think you're going to try to go back and pivot back to pre-COVID, like you just miss hanging out too much and miss that in-person collaboration that you'll nix the we've like Zoomed and we've texted, we've like Snapchatted like enough, I'm done with it, I just want to see people in real life.
The relationship that we've kind of developed like virtually has been like a system that's worked really, really well for us, because if there's like a somewhat pressing issue, we can just be like, hey, hop on a call, and maybe 2 or 3 people out of the group will hop on a call, or sometimes everyone will just spontaneously hop on a call, and we don't have to really like be together for it. Like I'm ashamed to say it, but like I've hopped in a call at work before, like on a break, just being like, okay, what's going on? Okay, I gotta go back to work. Like just like that's been like a system that's worked really well for us. I think that we'll most definitely keep up with, especially like after COVID and as things get crazier, more like crazy things might happen in the moment that we're like, we need to get in a call right now, this is what's going on, we need to figure this out, like stuff like that is and of course we'll save like the bigger topics for like either planned calls or planned meetings is usually kind of what we do.
I just think the only like component of like the online thing that's like missing is the whole writing process, as you know we were talking about before. So like you know, hopefully we will be able to, you know, like once things settle down and it's definitely a lot more safe to do so, that we'll be able to get together and, you know, write together. So you know these songs are more of our songs and not just like you know JT songs that I wrote a few parts for, I suppose.
Yeah, I honestly can't wait till like, because I feel like I would be a lot more productive and a part of the writing if it were in person, because I feel like for me a lot gets lost in translation, and so and like the way it is. But I think we're gonna take like in the future just like a kind of a both online and in person thing, because I think we've realized like how convenient it is to be able to just join in a call and talk whenever. Also, JT, the tile painting thing, that, so apparently you're supposed to like put it in the oven. I forgot the instructions and I never did it. Yeah,
that's nice.
So
should I put it in the oven?
Yeah, I think it's like 450 degrees for like, I'm not sure how long. So.
What is going on?
What kind of painting is it?
What is happening?
Anyway, put your Christmas gift in the oven.
Yeah, pretty much.
I didn't bake the cake for you. I just gave you the raw batter.
Here's some cake mix.
Honestly, I'd take raw batter. Raw cake batter. Yum.
It's like, okay, here's the flour, here's the eggs, here's the sugar. Figure it out.
Here's the cake. Well, actually, just the ingredients for the cake.
No instructions.
Well, shoot, guys, we just hit 2 hours. I do have kind of like an ending question that I've conceived of that each person can take individually. But before we do that, if you guys want to like, I obviously don't have a hard stop. So if you want to riff on anything else or anything comes to mind that you would like to discuss, like the floor is all yours.
All right. Anyone else have any other ideas? Anything else they want to talk about? You probably had like a list of things that you wanted to talk about, right?
We touched on pretty much everything.
All right.
I got nothing.
There was a lot I was going to say, but I forgot all of it.
Of course you did.
Well, yeah, I think just final points. I'm really, really proud of how far we've come as a band so far, and I'm really excited for what the future holds. This next album we're very excited about it. This next album is Forever We Roam, and it's like us. So I'm excited.
And when is it going to drop, and how can people listening catch it? So how could they support it? And then when it does finally drop, how could they listen to it?
Support, as far as support goes, I'm not sure when this is going to be released. I'm assuming not in the next 24 hours because that's when the Kickstarter closes.
Yeah.
But after that, I think just buying merch or
Interact with our posts on social media does a
Yeah.
lot.
that does a lot for us. Following us on social media and keeping track with us. We try not to blow up you guys' feed and just post like fun, relevant content. And I like to think that we're entertaining people. But we go into production for the album in a couple weeks, hopefully. And then at that point, we will record everything in the next couple months, send it to our producer, Jeremy Valentine, and hopefully start dropping singles in July. And I think at that point it'll be available everywhere. So Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, Pandora, and anywhere you could possibly listen to music, it'll be there. So yeah,
I mean, we don't have a date, but the album will definitely be out before September. Is
Yeah.
what we've been saying. Is so summertime, little late summertime, early fall.
and we'll do several singles ahead of time. So we'll drop like the first song of the album, and then 2 weeks later we'll drop one of the middle songs, and 2 weeks later we'll do a couple of singles before the album drops. So there will be some nice. I'm hoping to start that in July.
Awesome. Yeah, that's right around the corner, really.
Yeah, starting to get close now. It's crazy.
Awesome.
It feels like just now we were having the self-titled release parties. I mean,
Yeah.
that was
I
crazy.
know.
I still can't believe Michayla's been in the band for almost a year now. It feels like just a couple months
A
ago.
year too long.
Ouch!
Oof.
Yeah.
Ouch!
The door's
I
right there,
second that.
Michayla.
Yikes. Well, it's been fun, I guess.
Yeah, like this is again me being a weird host that I go in random directions and ask things kind of out of order. But in terms of introducing yourselves, like as a sign off, I would love to hear like the background of each individual member from the perspective of like when you first picked up an instrument and what interested you in music, and then maybe one add-on to that is like what music you love now and inspires you and motivates you, and also influences the way that you play for Forever We Roam. So whichever order you guys want to go in, and I could rephrase that question if any of you need it at any time.
We could start with Lynn. since
Yeah, we
Alex
should
went
go
first.
right to left or left to right.
Unless you want to go last.
I can go last.
Okay, Alex, you can go first.
Oh, yeah, I get to talk about myself. So
Shocker.
yeah. So like I actually grew up in a pretty musically inclined family. Like my dad, he is and has always been a music teacher at some high school, or he used to be on the Carolina Crown Drum Corps back in 1993, and music has always constantly been a part of his life. And then my mom, she's had plenty of run-ins with music. Like she used to play violin, been an opera singer, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really kind of discover my passion for music until I really started getting into rock music. It was kind of weird because for a while, once I like kind of started listening to music, it was just whatever the heck was popular at the time. And then it was like one day a flip switched where I just discovered rock music, and I was like, oh, I guess this is what I'm doing now. So it just kind of eventually became kind of a progression of heavier and heavier stuff. Like I started out really loving bands like Aerosmith and AC/DC and stuff, but I also ventured into some Metallica, that kind of heavier stuff, and then that just eventually went further and further and further. And now I'm like I would still consider myself a metalhead, but I'm also have appreciation for all kinds of music, and maybe getting into some like hip hop and stuff nowadays. But yeah, like and through that sort of progression into the rock genre, I've also that's where I kind of grew to want to play guitar. Essentially, my dad also played guitar, so. Essentially, just one day, like I was at his house and I was literally just bored, and he happened to have a guitar lying around, and I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna learn guitar. So I started doing that, and then he hears me, he opens the door just a little bit, and he's like, "Are you playing guitar?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Give me 1 second." And I could tell he was just like so giddy and so happy because he ran as fast as he could to grab the nearest guitar and like just come back and give me just a quick lesson. But like, yeah, from then on, that's I guess the rest is history. I just kept playing guitar, kept listening to heavy music, and eventually I kind of wanted to be in my own band. Not my own band, but a band, I suppose. And that eventually led me to Forever We Roam, where JT. He messaged me and he was like, "Yo, you want to play bass for us?" And I was like, "I would love to. I don't have a bass." He was like, "Okay, that's fine." And then he comes to me later and he's like, "Yo, you can actually just play guitar for us, like, because we have a guitar opening now." And I was like, "Sweet, yeah, I'll do that." And again, rest is history. Now I'm here.
Yeah, well,
That's awesome. Your dad must have been like, "I've been waiting for this moment."
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I was pretty similar for me. I just had a family that was really into music. A lot of them. For example, my grandpa, he was a drummer, and so I had really easy access to my first acoustic kit. But I remember one day I just, for some reason, I still don't know exactly why, I just really, 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 really wanted to start drumming, and so. I found the cheapest electric kit that I could find. It was an Alesis Nitro, and it was $300. And I went to my mom and I was like, "Can I get this?" And she said, "No, because we got you a guitar and you didn't learn that. So clearly you don't want to learn this. You're just doing it as an impulse buy." But I really, really wanted to do it. So then I eventually paid it with my own money, and for a year just used that and destroyed the thing. And by then they knew that I was serious about it, and so they got me a better one, which I used for a couple months until I played on an acoustic kit for the first time, and I was like, well, this is way more fun. So then I could never go back to that. 2 noise complaints later, we moved, and now I have I could just drum whenever I want, have my own first acoustic kit, and it's amazing. When I joined the band, though, I just wanted to join a band, and yeah, my mom knew Carl, or my mom knew someone who knew Carl, which knew Forever We Roam, and that's how I got an interview. And it was, I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy with this band. Everyone's just super nice and super talented. Oh my god, dude!
Except Michayla.
Except Michayla. Everyone knows Michayla's the least talented.
No.
No, she can leave.
Do it. You won't.
Yeah, you won't. No won't. You won't.
Okay. Let's calm down.
I'm gonna
Think of the poor podcast host.
I'm gonna sit up and sit.
I wish I had popcorn or something. I could just sit right here comfortably and just watch this all unfold.
Hey, Michaela.
I'm not doing that again.
Do it, I dare you.
Nope.
Do it.
For people just listening, there's some infighting going on. Like literal.
I just hit my
literal.
head on the mic.
You just what?
Aiden just hit his head on the microphone.
Good.
Okay, back on track. So I have been over all corners of playing music before I got to where I am today. When I was a kid, my mom raised me on Christian contemporary and my dad raised me on country. And so my first ever concert was a Brad Paisley concert. And I remember I had like this giant cowboy hat and I was like sitting up front on my dad's shoulders, so the people behind us probably hated me. And I just remember seeing Brad Paisley like play a guitar solo, and I just thought, oh my gosh, that is the coolest man I have seen in my entire life. And so I went to Walmart with my parents and I got this, I think it was $20 or something like that. Like a $20 first act acoustic guitar. And I took lessons on that from Cade for a couple of years, and he introduced me to indie music. And so I started becoming more of an indie musician when I started taking lessons from Cade. And then as things progressed and I got an electric guitar, he started introducing me to punk. And so then I started playing Green Day and Blink-182 and all that like typical 2000s pop punk, which led me into more modern pop punk like Neck Deep and Knuckle Puck. And so for a long time I was really, really into more modern pop punk. And then Cade showed me like all this other stuff, and I was a Midwest emo musician for a while and did classic rock for a while, and Cade started introducing me to some heavier stuff, and so then I started listening to that, and I don't know, I've really taken to some styles from everything, and my style in the band is, I've already told my origin story in the band, so we know how I got here. But I think my style in the band takes influences from the heavier genres with my riffs and my tunings and everything. And then I take some of the Midwest emo stuff with some tapping and more interesting chords. And I don't think I take much from country or Christian contemporary, but it is my roots, and I have to give credit where credit is due.
And how old were you when you got that first guitar? Because I mean, you mentioned that you were in a band before the first album, which was produced when you were in 7th grade. So like, you've been at the guitar for a pretty long time.
So I started guitar when I was maybe 7 years old or so, and so what is that, first grade?
Is that first grade or so?
First grade?
About,
Probably
yeah.
first grade.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
And then maybe 2 or 3 years in, I started with Carl, so I was in 4th grade, and I did my first band with Carl, and I played in just little kid bands with Carl that he managed us for several years, and then I started Forever We Roam when I was in 7th grade, and this was my first and only serious band I've ever had that started writing our own originals and doing like professional gigs that we're scheduling ourselves, rather than Carl being like, hey, I got some kid bands, can you let us play at your restaurant? And so I just went from learning guitar as a wee lad to playing in a band with Carl as a slightly less wee lad, and now I'm here, and I've just found all these guys who are like the best friends I could possibly ask for, and if I was allowed to touch them, I would grab Aidan right now and noogie him. But yeah, no, I'm really happy with where I am, and I love you guys a whole lot.
Ew.
Oh,
I
that
love
even
you
brought
too,
a tear to
I
my
guess.
eye. That's sweet. That's sweet. I love this.
Here we go.
So go home. Oh wait, you can't drive.
Listen, there's a story behind that too.
We're not gonna get into Aidan not being able to drive.
We won't. It's a 4-year-long story.
So I feel like I don't really have like a story that really got me like. I mean, I've been playing music for kind of as long as I can remember. Like, I was the kind of kid that my parents were just like, piano, violin, band. And I was just kind of like, okay. Like,
how did you transition to, like, singing for alternative rock, alt rock?
Well, I mean, I grew up listening to... My parents listened to Evanescence and Linkin Park, and, like, my dad likes Korn and, like, that kind of stuff, so it was kind of just always, like, in the back of my mind, I guess, and I went through a pretty rough emo phase in middle school.
Yeah, you did.
And so I kind of, like...
What is the emo, like, just to give example?
Like,
Think like your most typical 2000s emo stereotype with the floppy hair and the eyeliner, and
yeah,
that was Michayla.
that was me in middle school. Like,
And
for a
what was
long
your favorite
time.
band in that genre?
Oh God, I don't.
the
My
bell?
Chemical Romance. Yeah, I was like a full on My Chemical Romance emo, like, and so that's kind of what introduced me to like this kind of music. But on top of all of that, I have this very vivid memory as a kid of I want to be a pop star. I want to be a pop star. Like, I was always singing to myself, like, even if it was awful, like, I was always singing all the time. But I never really like wanted to go anywhere or thought I would ever really go anywhere with it for a long time, just because I don't know, it was hard to get into the scene, but once you're in it, like, you're good, but it's hard to kind of put your foot in the door.
I have no idea how I got in this band.
Like
Carl.
my first band actually was through Carl, and it was called Velvet Vibes. And that's how I met my longtime friend Brandon LaRue, who him and I have been playing music together for literally years, and he's like a good friend of these guys too. Like we do game nights with him and stuff. So him and I kind of bounced around multiple different bands trying to find a group. Ironically, the group that I found is not with Brandon. I'm sorry, Brandon. I'm still in a band with Brandon though, so like we're cool. That project's just kind of on a hiatus right now. But yeah, so just through Carl, and then JT tricked me into joining this band.
Yeah.
What was the trick?
He auditioned me without telling me it was an audition. Like,
Yeah.
he had called me saying, hey, Sorrel can't make it to practice today. Can you just come in and fill in for vocals? And I was just kind of like, yeah, okay. Because he had asked me previously to fill in for a show, like a few weeks prior. And that never ended up happening, but it was just kind of like, I didn't think anything of it. It was just kind of like, oh, he just needs someone to fill in for a practice. And then like an hour after we were done practicing, he was just kind of like, so this wasn't a practice, this was an audition.
I think I specifically said bamboozle. I think I specifically said, we bamboozled you, that was an audition. I think that's exactly how I said it.
That's most likely what happened. But let's just say I was very, very shocked and very confused.
You were very shocked to find out that you were in a band that you didn't
like,
know you were auditioning for, and you were like,
yeah,
oh god, well I can't do anything about it now.
Like, it was just like, well, I mean, these guys are kind of cool, this could be fun. If it falls flat, I'll just quit. Like, if I don't like it, then I'll just leave. It's not that big a deal. And so now I'm here, and now I have a feud.
So the trick worked.
The trick worked, unfortunately. The trick worked.
Ouch.
But yeah, that's kind of my origin story. I don't have like a super interesting origin story.
Yeah, next.
Oh, okay.
Well,
all right, Line.
okay, Michayla.
That was the sharpest silence I've ever heard.
Oh my god.
Okay, so yeah, I think I started playing violin when I was 4.
Oh.
I don't know. I was really young. I don't even remember. But I've basically been playing my whole life. And a little fact about me, I've lived in like 3 different countries. This is the 4th time I moved. So, you know, I wasn't really able to keep many friends or anything. So this is kind of all I had, basically. It's like that annoying little kindergarten friend you have that, you know, you just that just sticks with you no matter what. Except mine's not living or breathing, it's just a block of wood. Literally. And I don't know, I just kept doing it. And my older brother used to play piano, but he happened to like swimming more. So when he dropped the piano, I just said it's mine now. I made it mine, and then I taught myself because I didn't have time to get lessons. And my younger brother also picked up guitar, but when he dropped it, because he also liked swimming more, I was like, okay, I guess this is mine too. So I taught myself how to play guitar too. And it's just all I like. It's just basically my whole life. Basically, it's just music. Like, I can't really think of anything else. And when JT was kind of like, hey, what's up? And then he kind of like even though I told him I don't play bass, it kind of like got me thinking maybe I could try, because that would be fun. So you know, I gave it a try, and for some reason they liked me enough. I mean, I don't even know.
Was that an easy transition for you to like? I mean, you already had some experience with a variety of musical instruments, including the guitar. So was it a pretty easy transition for bass for you?
It was surprisingly easy. I mean, when JT gave me his bass to borrow for like a week, I kid you not, he opened the case, took out the bass, and then he was starting to like play the riff or whatever. He was like, okay, this is gonna be the really tricky part. This is gonna be the especially tricky part. So I'm just warning you right now. Like this part right here, and it was kind of playing it, and I was looking at it, and I was like, sure. So I took it home, and I was like, I was kind of nervous. So when I took it home, I was like, okay, getting mentally ready for the worst, and then like after an hour, half an hour,
you probably had it.
I just sent him a video like right away. I was like, look at me go.
I remember just opening the video like, no way, there's no way.
Like I was kind of like, I don't know. I just like it just feels natural to me. I guess like even though I'm probably not that good at bass, so don't start taking this as me saying like I'm the best. You know, worship me. Like, obviously, I've still got like a long way to go, but I don't know. I feel like I like where I'm at right now. Enough.
Nice. Are you still playing the other instruments at all? Not necessarily with the band, but do you still play violin quite a bit?
Yeah. I mean, it's just. I mean, it's still my annoying kindergarten friend. I'm gonna keep it by my side no matter what. So, like, even though I'm in this rock band or whatever, like, I'm still just a classical musician at heart. So, I mean, it's just something I know I'm gonna do for the rest of my life, even if I'm doing bass or whatever. Like, even though I'm playing rock music, you know, like, I'm still gonna be playing like the softer stuff because why not?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Is there, and I feel like you guys might have alluded to this before, but is there a chance that your other skills are going to be tapped into in Forever We Roam?
Very much so.
Oh, for sure.
Wink, wink, nod, nod, like something to look forward to.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Perhaps.
like, I'll just come out and say, like, Lynn and we're writing a song together right now that's, like, primarily piano and, like, pretty soft. So it, like, will definitely be going against, like, everything that we've ever written before. But, like, adding in a whole new set of skills that, like, we just didn't have before with, like, her being able to play violin and piano, like, the way that she can.
I feel like all of us like kind of developing our own skills, like with the transition into heavier music. You know, we're all working on our own voices, particularly our own like screaming voices and such. You know, to try and get that heavier sound out of it. Like I know I'm trying to get my screaming voice out. Michayla and JT, they've been working on theirs, so like hopefully we'll be able to input those skills into our music at some point.
Yeah.
I feel pressure. I should start learning how to sing because I'm the only person who isn't doing any vocals at all.
I would say you're the only person that can drum, but I mean,
I'm a drum teacher. That's what I do.
yeah. Yikes.
Wow, Michayla.
So Aidan, you're replaceable.
That's not true.
Everybody has their own exit strategy, I'm finding.
Basically.
We're all pretty. I think just to wrap up, we're all pretty irreplaceable with our personalities and our music skills. We're all very unique musicians, and we all very unique friendships and personalities and everything. And I think that we're in a really good place right now.
I didn't mean it, Aidan.
I think you guys are too, and like hearing each individual story, I'm personally very grateful that you all found each other, and I'm sure all of your growing fan base is really excited and happy and lucky that you guys found each other too. So keep fighting the good fight, keep putting those hurdles out there to keep overcoming, and we're very much excited for your next album. And thank you for joining me. Until next time, as my cheesy sign off always is, enjoy your random.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for talking with us.
This has been very fun.
Sorry, I didn't realize that much time went by.
Hey, my fellow randoms, thanks for hanging on tight for the debriefing to our 26th episode with Forever We Roam. Now, ain't that the truth? Roaming in search of a purpose and a reason and a fill in the blank. I think this group is off to very young and early start, JT having found the band when he was in 7th grade and having put together some really great music, even as early as that. The future is definitely bright, and I'm really excited to see where they go as all band members come together to form Voltron and put together their collective sound into one powerhouse of really resonant styles and taking advantage of each band member's strength. It seems like they're already doing so, which in a collaborative effort isn't always the easiest. And I guess that's why it took a little while to really find the right puzzle pieces, being the band members, to fit in to form one really cohesive image. And in that way, it seems like the stars have aligned. I hope that I could go out and drive a couple of hours maybe in the near future to see them play live when they finally get the opportunity to do so with their latest lineup. I'm really impressed by their go for it, do it yourself attitude from recording to filming the music video. They've taken it upon themselves to make things happen when things weren't really happening around them with COVID and all. So I give them kudos for that. I really enjoy their music and just their ability to collaborate. I think that's the key takeaway for me today, is finding the right members to achieve what you want to achieve and to find meaning in the group and find goals that collectively form as the group forms. And it seems like that's what's happening for Forever We Roam. And I wish them the best of luck. It's a brief debriefing today. I think the episode spoke for itself, and I won't speak anymore. So if you have any key takeaways of your own, please holler at me at What's Your Random on Facebook, Twitter, and especially Instagram, where we are most active. And until next time, go out and pursue whatever it is you want to pursue and enjoy the random. There's so much to enjoy around you. Just look for it and contribute to it yourself. Thanks.